The room is quiet. The world outside has settled into silence. There is only the soft weight of your blanket and the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Yet, inside, the mind is not still. It can feel like a brightly lit stage. Long after the play has ended, thoughts arrive, uninvited, memories from the day, worries about tomorrow, fragments of conversations, old regrets. They flicker and dance, one after another, holding sleep just out of reach. A frustrating and lonely vigil in the dark. You are not alone in this experience. This restless mind is not a sign of failure. It is not a flaw in your character. It is a condition of our modern world. From the moment we wake, we are pulled in 1,000 directions. Our screens glow with endless information. Our days are filled with demands. And we are taught that our value lies in what we do, what we achieve, what we produce. Our minds have been trained to run all day long, sprinting from one task to the next. And when the night comes, when all the distractions finally fade away, we find that we have simply forgotten how to stop. We lie in the quiet, and the mind continues its race, searching for problems to solve, dangers to anticipate, lists to create. But what if the answer isn't to fight the mind, to wrestle it into submission? What if the path to rest is more gentle? What if we could simply offer the mind something else to hold? Something ancient, something timeless. Tonight, we will turn to a source of wisdom that has been soothing restless hearts for thousands of years. We will listen to stories, not just any stories, but ancient tales born from the Buddhist tradition. Think of them not as religious lessons, but as gentle medicine for the soul. They come from a time before the endless hum of electricity, from a teacher who was, above all, a profound physician of the human mind. He understood the nature of our worries, our attachments, and our fears, because these are not new afflictions. And he offered a path, not of struggle, but of gentle understanding, a path of letting go. These stories are an invitation to step away from the noise and to enter a space of quiet acceptance. There is nothing for you to do now, nothing to fix, nothing to figure out. All that is asked of you is to listen, to breathe, and to allow these words, these ancient echoes of wisdom, to wash over you like a gentle stream, clearing the way for peace and for a deep, restorative sleep. So now, allow yourself to settle a little deeper. Feel the gentle pull of gravity, a quiet invitation to release, to let go of the day. And as you rest here, in this safe and quiet space, let us talk about the mind, not in a complicated way, but through a simple, ancient image. The sages of the past looked at the patterns of human thought, the endless, restless energy within our heads, and they gave it a name. They called it the monkey mind. It is a perfect description. Imagine a young monkey, full of life, unable to be still for even a single moment. It leaps from one branch to another, grabbing a piece of fruit, taking one bite, then dropping it to chase a butterfly. It chatters endlessly, screeching at a shadow, then chattering to another monkey, then suddenly becoming distracted by a sound in the distance. Its attention is scattered, pulled in every direction by the slightest impulse. There is no rest, no peace, just a constant, fatigue, and exhausting dance from one thing to the next. This is the nature of our untrained mind. As you lie here, perhaps you can feel its presence. One moment, it leaps to a memory from your childhood. The next, it swings to a worry about a meeting scheduled for next week. It grabs onto the branch of a conversation you had this afternoon, replaying the words, analyzing the tone. Then, it drops that and scurries over to a planning branch, making a mental list of groceries you need to buy. A fragment of a song appears, a catchy tune that plays on a loop, then an image of a place you want to visit, then a sudden, sharp anxiety about a sound you just heard in the house. This is the monkey, swinging wildly through the jungle of your inner world. For years, we have been told, in subtle and not so subtle ways, that this monkey is a problem, that it must be tamed, disciplined, or even silenced. Our instinct, when faced with this inner chaos, is to fight it. We try to grab the monkey, to hold it down, to shout at it to be quiet. When a particularly painful or anxious thought appears, we push it away. We say, "No, I will not think about that." We try to suppress it, to bury it under other, more pleasant thoughts. But this struggle is like trying to hold a cork under water. The harder you push it down, the more pressure builds. The moment your concentration wavers, the cork shoots up to the surface with even more force than before. The anxious thought you tried to suppress returns, stronger and more insistent. Trying to silence the mind by force is like trying to smooth a wrinkled silk cloth with a hot, heavy iron. You only create more creases, more resistance. The effort itself becomes a source of tension. You lie in bed, commanding yourself, "Stop thinking I need to sleep." And in that very command, you are creating more thought, more struggle, more wakefulness. The monkey does not respond to force. It only becomes more agitated, more frightened. The struggle is endless, and it is a battle you can never truly win. It leaves you feeling tired, defeated, and more convinced than ever that your mind is broken. But what if there is another way? A way that does not involve fighting, or suppressing, or controlling. A way that is gentle, patient, and profoundly simple. There is a story, told in quiet courtyards of ancient monasteries, about a young student and his wise teacher. The student, named Ananda, was sincere and dedicated. He would sit for hours, trying to meditate, trying to find the inner peace his teacher spoke of. But every time he sat, his mind would run wild. He grew more and more frustrated. Finally, one afternoon, he went to his teacher, his face a mask of despair. "Master," he began, his voice tight with frustration, "I cannot do this. You speak of a mind that is like a clear, calm lake, but my mind is a muddy swamp. The more I try to clear it, the more I stir up the mud. Thoughts of my past, fears for my future, anger and desire, they swirl around me until I cannot see anything clearly. I feel like I am drowning in the mud of my own mind. What am I to do?" The old teacher listened with a soft, compassionate smile. He did not offer a complex philosophical answer. Instead, he motioned for Ananda to follow him. He led him to a small table, upon which sat a simple clay bowl filled with clear water. The teacher then reached down, scooped up a handful of dirt and gravel from the path, and dropped it into the bowl. He stirred it vigorously with his finger until the water became a murky, brown, opaque mess. Not a single ray of light could pass through it. He turned to his student. "Here," the teacher said calmly, "this is your mind right now. I want you to make the water clear." Ananda, eager to prove himself, immediately set to the task. First, he tried to use his hand to scoop out the dirt, but this only disturbed the water more, creating clouds of mud. Then, he tried blowing on the surface, hoping to blow the dirt away, but it had no effect. He even thought of pouring the water through a piece of his robe, but he knew the teacher wanted him to clear the water in the bowl itself. Frustrated, he looked at his teacher, defeated once again. "Master, I cannot. Anything I do just makes it worse." The teacher's smile did not waver. He gently took the bowl from Ananda's hands and placed it softly on the wooden table. He then sat down on a cushion and motioned for Ananda to sit beside him. "Now," the teacher whispered, "our task is to do nothing." Ananda was confused, but he trusted his master, so they sat in silence. They watched the bowl of muddy water. For the first few minutes, nothing seemed to happen. The water was just as brown and thick as before. But then, as Ananda's own breathing slowed, as his body became still, he began to notice a subtle change. The largest particles of gravel were the first to surrender to gravity, sinking silently to the bottom. Then, the heavier grains of sand began to drift downwards. A slow, silent cascade. The water at the very top began to look slightly less brown. They continued to sit, breathing softly. They did not interfere. They did not touch the bowl. They simply held it in their gentle, patient awareness. More time passed. The finer particles of silt began their slow, graceful descent, like dust motes dancing in a sunbeam, before finally coming to rest. The water became clearer and clearer still, until, after what felt like a long, peaceful eternity, the water was almost completely transparent. All the mud, all the dirt, all the turmoil had settled peacefully at the bottom of the bowl, and in the clear, still surface of the water, Ananda could see a perfect reflection of his own face and the calm, smiling face of his teacher beside him. The teacher leaned in and spoke, his voice as soft as the silence around them. "You see, Ananda," he said, "you do not have to fight with the mud. You do not have to force it to go away. Your only work is to provide a space of stillness. You simply place the mind down. Gently, you allow it to be as it is, and then, with patience and with kindness, you just watch. The thoughts, the worries, the fears, they are just like this mud. They seem to stir everything up, but their nature is to settle. If you do not keep stirring them with your struggle, with your resistance, they will settle on their own. And underneath it all, the clarity you seek, the peace you long for, has been there all along. This is the invitation for you. Tonight, your mind is the bowl of water. The thoughts that trouble you are the mud. Your task is not to fight them. Your task is not to clear them out. Your only task is to be the silent, patient observer, to simply place the bowl down. You are doing that right now. Just by resting here, you are allowing the mind to be still. You don't need to stop the thoughts, simply notice them, without getting caught up in their stories. A thought about work appears. There is the mud of planning. You don't have to engage with it, you just see it. And you let it be. It will settle. A memory of something embarrassing drifts in. The mud of the past. You don't need to push it away. You just acknowledge it with a gentle inner nod, and you allow it to drift down. An anxious feeling about your health arises. The mud of fear. You don't need to believe its scary story. You just notice the feeling, the thought, and you let it be. It, too, will settle. Your awareness is the stillness. Your breath is the silence that allows the settling to happen. Each time you notice a thought, you are not failing. You are succeeding. You are noticing the mud. And by noticing it without stirring it, you are helping it to settle. This is the heart of mindfulness. Not an empty mind, but an aware mind. A mind that has the spaciousness to hold all of its thoughts, all of its mud, without being disturbed by them. So rest. Let the bowl be still. Trust in this natural process. The mud will settle, the water will clear, and the peace that is your true nature will reveal itself, reflecting the quiet stars of the night sky. And as the mind settles, we can begin to see more clearly. What is this mud actually made of? What gives it the power to cloud our vision? This is where our journey will take us next. As the waters of the mind begin to clear, as the mud of thought begins to settle, we can start to see things with a new kind of clarity. We can begin to look at the sediment itself. What is this material that clouds our peace? What are these thoughts and feelings that disturb our rest? When we look closely, with gentle curiosity, we often find that our distress is made of two distinct parts. There is the event itself, and then there is our story about the event. There is the pain, and then there is the suffering. They feel like the same thing, but they are not. This distinction is one of the most profound and liberating gifts of ancient wisdom. It is the difference between feeling the rain on your skin and lamenting that the rain has ruined your day. It is the difference between the sharp sting of a criticism and the long, dull ache of replaying that criticism in your mind for days on end. The Buddha, in his deep observation of the human heart, saw this pattern everywhere. He saw people endlessly compounding their own sorrow, not out of foolishness, but out of habit, out of an untrained response to the difficulties of life. He wanted to offer a tool, a simple image to help people see what they were doing, and to empower them to choose a different way. This teaching is known as the parable of the second arrow. It is a story not just to be heard, but to be felt, to be recognized deep within our own experience. So allow yourself to listen, not just with your ears, but with your whole being. Imagine a person walking through a beautiful, sun-dappled forest. The path is soft under their feet. The air is sweet with the scent of pine and damp earth. Suddenly, without warning, a sharp pain explodes in their leg. An arrow, shot by a careless hunter from a distance, has struck them. The pain is intense, immediate, and undeniable. It sears through the muscle, a hot, throbbing reality. This, the Buddha said, is the first arrow. It is the unavoidable pain of life. In our own lives, these first arrows come in many forms. It can be the physical pain of a headache, a chronic illness, or an injury. It can be the emotional pain of losing a loved one, the sting of betrayal, the disappointment of failure, or the loneliness of an empty house. These things happen. They are part of the contract of being human, of living in an unpredictable world. No amount of wisdom or meditation can make us completely immune to these first arrows. Life will, at times, be painful. That is a simple, unchangeable truth. Now, let us return to the person in the forest. Struck by the first arrow, here, they have a choice. One path is to simply tend to the wound, to acknowledge the pain, to carefully remove the arrow, to clean the injury and bind it, and to seek help. This is the path of wisdom. But there is another path, a much more common one. Instead of tending to the wound, the person falls to the ground and begins to cry out. "Why me?" they shout to the empty forest. "What have I done to deserve this? This is so unfair. My walk is ruined. My day is ruined. Perhaps my whole life is ruined. What if the arrow is poisoned? I'm surely going to die. Who would be so cruel as to shoot this arrow when I find them? I will make them pay for what they've done." With each of these thoughts, with each wave of anger, self-pity, and fear, the person is doing something terrible. They are reaching into a quiver on their own back, pulling out another arrow, and shooting it directly into the same wound. This, the Buddha explained, is the second arrow. The second arrow is not made of wood and feathers. It is made of our own reaction. It is made of our judgment, our resistance, our stories, our blame. The first arrow causes pain. The second arrow causes suffering. The pain of the first arrow is unavoidable. The suffering of the second arrow is optional. It is self-inflicted. The uninstructed person, the Buddha said, who does not understand this, is struck by two arrows. They feel the pain of the body, and then they feel the even greater pain of the mind. And so, their suffering is doubled, tripled, multiplied 100 times over. But the wise person, the student of the path, when struck by a first arrow, does not foolishly shoot themselves with a second. They feel the pain, yes, but they do not add the suffering. They feel only one arrow, not two. As you lie here tonight, you can become a wise person. You can learn to recognize this pattern. Perhaps you are feeling a physical pain right now, a discomfort in your body. That is the first arrow. Notice the stories the mind wants to tell about it. This will never go away. This is going to keep me awake all night. I can't stand this feeling. Each of those thoughts is a second arrow. Can you, just for a moment, let those thoughts go? Can you return to the raw sensation of the pain itself, without the commentary, to just feel it? As pure energy, pure sensation in the body, breathing into it, softening around it, holding it with a gentle, courageous kindness. You are not trying to make the first arrow disappear. You are simply choosing not to shoot the second. Perhaps the first arrow of your night is emotional. You had a difficult conversation today. You feel regret, or anger, or sadness. That feeling is the first arrow. Notice the mind's tendency to rewind the tape, to play the scene over and over. I should have said this. They shouldn't have done that. This is all my fault. This is all their fault. This obsessive replay, this cycle of blame and regret, is the second arrow, and the third, and the fourth. It is what keeps the wound fresh, what keeps you tethered to the past and unable to find rest in the present. Can you, just for now, give yourself permission to let the story go? Can you allow the raw feeling of sadness or anger to just be there, without the narrative, to feel it in your chest, or your throat, or your stomach, to acknowledge its presence without adding fuel to its fire? This is an act of profound self-compassion. For many of us, the inability to sleep becomes its own first arrow. The simple fact is, you are awake. That is the reality of this moment. But then comes the monkey mind, with a full quiver of second arrows. I absolutely have to sleep now, or I will be a wreck tomorrow. I won't be able to function at work. I'll get sick. Everyone else in the world is sleeping peacefully. What is wrong with me? And these thoughts, these arrows of anxiety and fear about not sleeping, are the very things that generate the adrenaline and stress that make sleep impossible. It is a perfect, painful trap, but you can step out of it. You can do it right now. The first arrow is wakefulness. You can accept that, okay, for now, my body is awake. You can meet this reality without panic, and you can gently, firmly, refuse to shoot the second arrow. You can let go of the story about what will happen tomorrow. The future is not here yet. All you have is this moment, this breath, and in this moment, you can choose to be kind to yourself. You can choose to rest, even if you are not sleeping. This space between the first arrow and the second is the gift of mindfulness. It is a sacred pause. The first arrow strikes, and in that split second, before the habitual reaction kicks in, you have a moment of pure awareness. In that moment, you can see the quiver on your back. You can feel your hand reaching for the second arrow of blame or fear. And in that moment, you can choose to let your hand drop. You can choose to breathe instead. This is freedom. It is the freedom to experience the totality of life, its joys and its inevitable pains, without being destroyed by them. It is the beginning of a deep and unshakable peace. So as you lie here, become aware of any arrows, the arrows of the body, the arrows of the mind. See them for what they are, and know that you have a choice. You can let the second arrows fall to the ground. You do not need them. They do not protect you. They only deepen the wound. The habit of reaching for them is strong, born of a lifetime of practice. This habit is rooted in a deep desire for things to be other than they are. We shoot the second arrow because we are resisting reality. We are clinging to the idea that life should be painless, predictable, and permanent. But life is not like that. And so, our journey must now take us into the heart of this resistance, into the very nature of change itself. We rest here, in the quiet of the night, having seen that our suffering is not caused by life's first arrows, but by the second arrows of our own making. We can now ask a deeper question. Why are we so quick to shoot these second arrows of fear, to blame, and despair? What is the root of this painful habit? The answer lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of the world. We shoot the second arrow because, deep down, we are protesting reality. We are arguing with what is. We desperately want life to be stable, solid, predictable, and permanent. But it is not. The deepest, most unchanging truth of the universe is the truth of constant change. The ancients did not see this as a harsh or terrifying fact, but as a simple, profound reality. As natural as breathing, they taught that everything, without exception, is like a great and flowing river. Imagine standing on the bank of a wide, majestic river. You watch the water as it moves ceaselessly toward the sea. You see the light dancing on its surface, the ripples and currents creating intricate, fleeting patterns. You dip your hand in, and the water that touches your skin is here for only a moment before it is replaced by new water. The philosopher Heraclitus said that you can never step into the same river twice. This is true not only because the river is always changing, but because you are also always changing. The person who steps into the river today is not the exact same person who will step into it tomorrow. This is the nature of impermanence, or as it is called in the ancient Pali language, anicca. It is the universal law of flux. This river is not just an external reality. It flows through every part of your being. Your body is a river. It may seem solid, but it is a bustling, dynamic process. Millions of cells are dying and being born within you in this very moment. The air you are breathing in becomes part of you, and the air you breathe out returns to the world. The food you ate today is being transformed into energy, into you. The body you inhabit now is different from the one you had as a child, and it will be different again in a year. It is not a static object, but a flowing process, a wave in the great ocean of life. Your feelings are like the currents within this river. A wave of joy can lift you up, sparkling and bright, but it is a wave. It crests, and then it subsides, flowing back into the river. A current of sadness may pull you into a deep, quiet pool. It feels as if it will last forever, but it too is part of the flow. It moves, it shifts, it eventually gives way to something else. Anger can be like a patch of turbulent rapids, churning and powerful. But even the most intense rapids eventually smooth out into a calmer stretch of water. We cause ourselves immense pain by trying to control these currents. When we feel joy, we try to build a dam to hold it, to keep it forever. But this only creates tension, and the inevitable moment it recedes feels like a terrible loss. When we feel sadness or fear, we try to swim desperately against the current, exhausting ourselves in a futile struggle against the natural flow of our own emotional life. And your thoughts, the very mud we spoke of earlier, are like leaves, twigs, and petals floating on the surface of this river. They drift into view, capture our attention for a moment, and then float on. Downstream, out of sight. A thought about yesterday appears, then a thought about tomorrow, a memory, a plan, a worry. They are transient, fleeting, insubstantial. It is only when we reach out and cling to a particular leaf, pulling it out of the water and holding it, examining it, obsessing over it, that we create a problem. When we let the thoughts simply float by, we see them for what they are: harmless, temporary events on the surface of the mind. This truth of impermanence is the backdrop for one of the most moving stories in the Buddhist tradition, the story of a young mother named Kisa Gotami. She lived a happy life, and her entire world revolved around her greatest treasure, her infant son. He was her sun, her moon, her everything. Then, one day, tragedy struck. The child fell ill and, in a matter of hours, he died in her arms. Kisa Gotami's world shattered into a million pieces. Her grief was so powerful, so all-consuming, that her mind could not accept the reality of what had happened. She refused to believe her son was gone. Clinging to his small, still body, she went from house to house in her village, desperately seeking medicine to wake him up. Her neighbors looked at her with sorrow and pity. She has lost her senses, they whispered, but one man, seeing the depth of her pain, showed her a sliver of compassion. "I do not have medicine for you," he said gently, "but I know of a great physician. Go and see the Buddha. Perhaps he can help you." Clinging to this last thread of hope, Kisa Gotami ran to the place where the Buddha was teaching. She laid her child at his feet and told her story, tears streaming down her face, begging him for a cure. The Buddha looked at her, not with pity, but with an ocean of compassion in his eyes. He saw her pain, and he knew that a simple lecture on acceptance would be meaningless. He had to guide her to discover the truth for herself. "There is one remedy that might work," he said, his voice calm and kind. "But to make it, I need a special ingredient. I need you to go back into the village and bring me a single mustard seed." Kisa Gotami's heart leaped with hope. "A mustard seed, I can get that easily," she exclaimed. "Wait," the Buddha said softly. "There is one condition. The mustard seed must come from a house where no one has ever experienced death. It must be a house that has never lost a child, a spouse, a parent, a friend, or even a servant." Though the condition was strange, Kisa Gotami was so desperate that she accepted it without question. She rose and hurried back to the village, her dead son still in her arms. She went to the first house. "The Buddha has sent me," she said. "I need a mustard seed for a special medicine. Can you help me?" "Of course," the woman of the house replied. "We have plenty." As the woman went to fetch it, Kisa Gotami asked the vital question, "Has anyone in this house ever died?" The woman's face fell. "Oh, my dear," she said sadly, "you touch upon our deepest sorrow. We lost our beloved grandfather just last year." With a heavy heart, Kisa Gotami went to the next house, and the next, and the next. The story was the same everywhere. One family had lost a daughter, another, a husband, another, an aunt. Every door she knocked on, every hand that offered her a mustard seed, was a hand that had also known the ache of loss. Every family had a story of grief. As dusk began to settle over the village, Kisa Gotami sat down by the roadside, weary and empty-handed. The little lights of the village began to flicker on, one by one, and then, after a time, they began to flicker out, and in that simple observation, the profound truth finally pierced her heart. "How selfish I have been in my grief," she thought. "I believed my sorrow was mine alone, but the fate of my son is the fate of all beings. This law of dying, of change, is everywhere. It is as common as the lights of the village that flicker on and then are extinguished." The dam of her denial broke. She finally saw the river of life and death for what it was, a universal, impersonal flow. She accepted that her son was part of that flow, as was she. She tenderly carried his body to the charnel ground for cremation and let him go, returning not to a house of her own, but to the Buddha Did you bring the mustard seed? He asked gently. The work of the mustard seed is done. Master, she replied, her voice quiet but clear. The truth has been revealed to me. She had finally understood Anika. She had understood that clinging to what is bound to change is the very source of our deepest suffering. We are all Kisa Gotami. We are all searching for a mustard seed from a house untouched by change. We want a life free from loss, from aging, from sickness, from disappointment. But such a house does not exist. The river flows, whether we want it to or not. To find peace, we must learn to flow with it. This doesn't mean we become passive or that we don't care. It means we stop wasting our precious energy fighting against reality. We learn to appreciate the beauty of the river in all its forms. The joyous, sunny stretches are beautiful, and we can cherish them fully, knowing they are fleeting. The quiet, deep pools of sorrow also have their own beauty, a poignant depth that can teach us compassion by accepting impermanence. We find a new kind of freedom. We are no longer terrified of the next bend in the river. We can finally be present with what is, right here, right now, knowing this moment, too, is precious and will never come again. This understanding raises a profound question. If everything is this flowing river, my body, my thoughts, my feelings, then who am I? What is this self that seems to be watching it all? Is there a solid rock of me in the middle of this stream? Or is the watcher also part of the flow? Let us now turn our gentle gaze inward to look for this elusive self. We have been standing on the banks of a great river, watching the ceaseless flow of life, the truth of impermanence. We have seen that our bodies, our feelings, and our thoughts are all part of this ever-changing current. This realization brings us to a question that lies at the very heart of our search for peace. If everything is in constant motion, then who is this I that is witnessing it all? Who is this self that feels pleasure and pain? The self that we work so hard to protect, to promote, and to defend. We feel like a solid, continuous being from the time we were a child until this very moment. We have a sense of being me, but let us look closer. With the same gentle curiosity we brought to the muddy water, is this me, our body? Our body has changed completely since we were born. Not a single cell might be the same. So we cannot be just our body. Is this me, our thoughts? Our thoughts are more fleeting than clouds in the sky. An opinion we held fiercely 10 years ago may seem foolish to us now. A worry that consumed us yesterday may be forgotten today. We are not our thoughts. Is this me, our feelings? Our feelings are like the weather, constantly shifting. Happiness, sadness, anger, peace, they come and they go. If we were our feelings, our identity would vanish every time our mood changed. So we are not our feelings. When we look deeply, we find that what we call the self is not a solid, independent entity. It is more like a process, a verb rather than a noun. It is a temporary coming together of these changing elements: body, feelings, thoughts, perceptions, like a whirlpool in the river. It has a recognizable pattern for a while, but it is made of nothing but the flowing water itself. There is no permanent, separate me at the center of it all. This insight, known as anatta or no self, can sound strange or even frightening at first, but it is the key to unlocking a profound and unshakable freedom, especially freedom from one of the most painful poisons of the mind, anger. Anger is the guardian of the ego. It is the fierce soldier that leaps up whenever our fragile sense of self feels threatened, insulted, or ignored. When someone cuts us off in traffic, the anger that flashes up is the self saying, "How dare you disrespect me and my schedule?" When someone criticizes our work, the resentment that simmers is the self crying out, "They are attacking me, my competence, my worth." Anger needs a target. It needs a solid me that has been wronged, and a solid you who is the wrongdoer. But what if we could see through this illusion? What if we could see that both the me and the you are not as solid as they appear? There is a timeless story, often attributed to the Zen and Taoist traditions, that illuminates this better than any lecture. Picture a man, perhaps a fisherman or a poet, who has taken his small boat out onto a vast, tranquil lake at dusk. The air is still, and a soft mist is beginning to rise from the water, blurring the line between the lake and the sky. He is not fishing or writing. He is simply being. He feels a deep sense of peace, a quiet joy in the gentle rocking of the boat, in the cool air on his skin. His mind, for a rare moment, is as calm and clear as the lake around him. Suddenly, thump, another boat bumps into his, hard enough to jolt him and shatter the perfect stillness. His peace instantly vanishes, replaced by a surge of irritation. Who is this careless person? He thinks. Crashing about on such a peaceful evening, he waits for them to apologize, but hears nothing. Thump, the other boat bumps his again. Now, irritation blossoms into full-blown anger. He feels the heat rise in his face. His fists clench. He stands up and shouts into the mist, his voice full of righteous indignation. "Hey, watch where you're going. You fool. Are you asleep at the tiller? You've ruined a perfectly good evening with your incompetence." He is consumed by rage, ready to give the other boater a piece of his mind. He peers furiously through the thickening mist, trying to get a look at the idiot who has so rudely disturbed him. And as he looks, his eyes adjust, and he sees that the other boat is empty. It must have broken loose from its moorings up the shore and was simply drifting silently with the gentle currents of the lake. In that instant, his anger collapses. It vanishes completely, as if a plug had been pulled. You cannot be angry at an empty boat. You cannot resent the wind. You cannot hold a grudge against the current. The target for his rage has disappeared, and the rage itself, having nowhere to go, simply dissolves. He is left standing there, his own angry words echoing foolishly over the water. And in that moment, he has a profound realization. His anger was not caused by the other boat. His anger was inside him all along. A pre-packaged response just waiting for a trigger. The empty boat did not put the anger there. It only revealed what was already present. He then understands something deeper. He thinks about all the people in his life who have bumped into him, the merchant who shortchanged him, the neighbor who gossiped about him, the family member who made a thoughtless comment. He realizes that they, too, are often just empty boats. They are not necessarily acting with deep, malicious intent to harm him specifically. They are simply adrift, pushed about by the invisible currents of their own lives, their own fears, their own insecurities, their own pain, their own ignorance. They are so caught up in the storms of their own minds that they are not even at the tiller of their own boat. They bump into us, and we, believing there is a malicious captain at the helm. React with fury. We spend days, weeks, even years, shouting at an empty boat. This is the freedom offered by the wisdom of no self. When you are bumped by another person's words or actions, you can pause. You can ask yourself, am I being bumped by a skilled and malicious captain, or by an empty boat, adrift on the currents of its own suffering? More often than not, you will find the boat is empty. The person who snapped at you may have had a terrible night's sleep. The person who cut you off in traffic may be rushing to a family emergency. The person who said a hurtful thing may be acting from a place of deep insecurity that has nothing to do with you. Seeing this does not mean you condone their behavior. It does not mean you have to be their friend or allow them to continue bumping into you. You can, and you should, steer your own boat with wisdom. You can move out of the way. You can set firm and clear boundaries. You can say, "Your words are hurtful, and I will not listen to them." Or, "This behavior is not acceptable to me." But you can do all of this from a place of clarity and strength, rather than from a place of bitter. Korosiu enga. You save yourself from the poison of the second arrow. When you stop shouting at the empty boats, a vast amount of energy is liberated within you. The energy that was once consumed by resentment, by replaying old hurts, by planning imaginary arguments, is now free. It can be transformed into compassion, into creativity, into peace. As you lie here, I think of a small bump you experienced recently, a minor annoyance caused by another person. Can you picture them, just for a moment, not as an antagonist, but as an empty boat pushed by currents you cannot see? Can you feel the anger or resentment inside you soften, just a little, when it realizes it has no solid target? This is not about forgiving them for their sake. It is about freeing yourself for your sake. It is about putting down a heavy, useless burden. This realization is a powerful tool for dealing with the present moment. But what about the collisions of the past? What about the wreckage of old encounters that we still carry with us, cluttering the hold of our own vessel? Let us now turn our gentle attention to the art of letting these old burdens go, of clearing out the ghosts of empty boats from our past. We have seen how looking upon others as empty boats can dissolve our anger in the present moment, freeing us from the poison of resentment. It is a powerful practice, yet, so often, the boats that truly weigh us down are not the ones we encounter today. They are the ghostly vessels from our past. We are haunted by the memory of old collisions, carrying the weight of events and words long since vanished. We walk through the beautiful, sunlit landscape of the present, but we are hunched over, straining under the load of heavy, invisible boulders on our backs. Take a moment to feel this. What are the boulders you carry? There is the heavy, jagged boulder of regret, its sharp edges digging into your shoulders. Its constant whisper is, if only I had made a different choice. If only I had said something else. If only I had been a different person. There is the dense, cold boulder of guilt, a dead weight that murmurs, I shouldn't have done that. I was wrong. I am flawed. There is the burning, hot boulder of grievance, the story of how someone else wronged you, an injustice you can't let go of. And sometimes, there is even the beautiful, crystal boulder of nostalgia, a bittersweet clinging to a golden past, a weight that makes the present feel dull and colorless in comparison. We carry these burdens for miles, for years, for decades. We become so accustomed to their weight that we mistake it for a part of who we are. We believe that to put them down would be an act of betrayal, a sign that we don't care, or a foolish invitation to forget the lessons we have learned. But the great secret of the past is this: it does not exist. Not anywhere. Not in the world. The only place the past has any reality at all is in your mind. Right now, when you are lost in regret or resentment, you are not actually in the past. You are using the precious, vibrant energy of this present moment to animate a ghost. You are sacrificing the aliveness of your own senses, the feeling of the breath in your lungs, the gentle support of the bed beneath you, to power a mental movie theater that plays the same sad films over and over again. You cannot change the script. You cannot alter the ending. You can only watch. And in the watching, you drain the life from the only moment you ever truly have, this one. The freedom we seek lies not in changing the past, but in changing our relationship to it. It is the freedom to simply put the boulders down. There is a beloved Zen story that shows us how two monks, one senior and one junior, were on a long pilgrimage. The senior monk was very pious, deeply learned in all the scriptures, and a strict observer of the hundreds of monastic rules. The junior monk was simpler, more light-hearted, and tended to respond to the world with a spontaneous heart. One day, their journey brought them to a river that had been swollen by heavy rains. The current was strong, and the water was muddy and deep. On the bank stood a young woman, dressed in beautiful silk robes, looking distressed. She was afraid to cross, knowing the rough water would ruin her fine clothes and might even sweep her away. The senior monk saw her and immediately averted his gaze, perhaps muttering to himself about worldly attachments and the temptations of the flesh. The monastic rule was perfectly clear: a monk must never, under any circumstances, touch a woman. The junior monk, however, saw the situation differently. He did not see a temptation. He saw a person in need. Without a word, he walked over to the woman. He smiled, bent down, and lifted her into his arms. He waded surely and steadily through the swirling currents, carrying her across the river. On the other side, he set her down gently on her feet. The woman, overjoyed, thanked him profusely. The junior monk simply bowed his head with a small smile, turned, and continued on his pilgrimage path. The senior monk, having crossed the river himself, was seething. He was utterly scandalized. His mind was a thunderstorm of judgment. How could he do that? He fumed internally. A flagrant violation of our most sacred vows, such shameless behavior in public. No less, he has brought disgrace upon us both. For the next several hours, the two monks walked in silence, but only one of them was truly walking. The junior monk was present with the journey, noticing the feel of the path under his feet, the sound of the birds, the warmth of the afternoon sun. The senior monk, however, was not on the path at all. He was miles back, still at the riverbank. He was carrying the woman in his mind, replaying the scene again and again, feeding his outrage, polishing his judgment. The weight of his anger was far heavier than the woman had been. His steps were heavy. His brow was furrowed. His heart was a knot of conflict. Finally, as the sun began to dip towards the horizon, He could bear the silence no longer. He stopped, turned to his companion, and burst out, his voice trembling with indignation. "I must speak. What you did back there at the river was completely unacceptable. Our precepts forbid us from even making eye contact with women. Let alone touching them, you picked one up in your arms and carried her. How could you be so undisciplined? So reckless with your vows." The junior monk stopped and looked at his senior. There was no defensiveness in his eyes, only a genuine, gentle puzzlement. Then, a look of profound understanding dawned on his face, and he smiled. He spoke softly, his words cutting through the older monk's storm of agitation. "Brother," he said, "I put that woman down on the riverbank hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This question echoes through the centuries, and it is a question for each of us tonight. Why are you still carrying her? What is the woman at the river that you are still carrying in your mind? Is it a mistake you made at your job years ago, a failure in a past relationship, a moment of shame from your childhood? You put the phone down. You left the office. You grew up, but you are still carrying the weight of it in your mind. Is it a grievance you hold against a family member, a hurt inflicted by a friend? The argument may have ended. The person may have moved on completely, but you are still carrying them, continuing the fight in the theater of your mind, poisoning your own peace. You are the senior monk. You are allowing something that is long over to steal the life from your present. The younger monk gives us the model for freedom. He was not callous or undisciplined. He acted with clear-eyed compassion in the moment that required it. He addressed the reality in front of him, and when the moment was over, he let it go completely. He was free to meet the next moment with the same freshness and presence. You can make that same choice. Right now, you can put down the boulders. Let one of them come to your mind. A regret, a guilt, a grievance. Don't dive into the story of it. Just acknowledge its name. Silently, say hello to it. Feel its familiar weight. Acknowledge how tired you are from carrying it for so long. Now, in the quiet of your heart, make a conscious and compassionate decision to set it down. This does not mean you are saying what happened was okay. It does not mean you are forgetting the lesson it taught you. It only means you are choosing, out of kindness to yourself, to stop carrying the dead weight. Visualize yourself on a path. See yourself gently lowering this heavy boulder from your shoulders and placing it carefully on the side of the road. You can even touch it with gratitude. Thank you for the lesson. I release you now. And then, see yourself turning and walking on. Feel the lightness in your body. Feel the freedom in your spirit. Feel the space that has been created inside you. A space that can now be filled with the peace of the present moment. We have worked to let go of the phantoms of the past, but our minds are creative. They do not only create burdens from what has been, they are experts at creating them from what has not yet come to be. Having set down the boulders of yesterday, let us now turn our gentle attention to the heavy fog of tomorrow. Let us learn the art of making peace with the future. We have set down the heavy boulders of the past, feeling a new lightness in our spirit. The path forward seems clearer, but the mind, that restless traveler, has another favorite destination. If it is not journeying backward into the land of regret, it loves to race ahead, into the phantom landscape of the future. Here, it builds elaborate houses of fear. We call this process worry or anxiety. It is one of the most exhausting activities of the human mind, and it is an epidemic in our modern world. What is worry? It is the act of suffering in advance. It is paying interest on a debt you may not even owe. Anxiety is the mind's attempt to control a future that is, by its very nature, uncontrollable. It believes that if it can imagine every possible negative outcome, every potential disaster, every scenario of loss or failure, it can somehow prevent them. It operates under the illusion that to worry is to prepare. So we lie awake at night, our bodies tenser, our hearts racing, while the mind works tirelessly, rehearsing for tragedies that will likely never occur. It runs through endless loops of what if? What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if my children are not safe? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I am alone? Each of these thoughts is an act of building a house of fear in your mind. You build the walls with your worries, furnish the rooms with your worst-case scenarios, and then you move in and suffer as if it were all real. You are living in a house that hasn't been built, tormented by ghosts that have not yet been born. This constant state of alert, this rehearsal for disaster, does not protect you. It only robs the present moment of its life. You are so busy scanning the horizon for a storm that you completely miss the gentle warmth of the sun on your skin today. You are so preoccupied with future troubles that you cannot taste the food you are eating, or truly hear the voice of a loved one speaking to you now. It is crucial to understand the difference between this kind of useless, corrosive worrying and the act of wise, skillful planning. The wisdom of letting go of the future is not a call for irresponsibility. Wise planning is calm, grounded, and happens in the present. You look at a challenge ahead and ask, what is one thing I can do now to prepare to cross a river tomorrow? You gather the wood to build a raft today. The action is taken in the present. Once you have done what you can do, you let it go, trusting that you have done your best. Useless worrying, on the other hand, is agitated, repetitive, and lives entirely in the imagination. Having already gathered the wood for the raft, the anxious mind continues to churn. But what if the wood isn't strong enough? What if the current is too fast? What if a storm comes overnight and washes it all away? What if I've forgotten how to tie a proper knot? This mental spinning solves nothing. It builds no rafts. It only creates stress, drains your energy, and makes you miserable. There is an old and powerful story about a man who was a master of planning for the future, a man who forgot how to live in the present. He was a farmer, but he was more of a businessman. From his youth, he was driven by a single goal to secure his future. While other young men spent their evenings in laughter and song, he would be hunched over his ledgers, while others enjoyed the simple pleasures of a good meal or a walk at sunset. He would be working, always working, saving every coin, acquiring more land. His discipline was legendary, and it paid off. His fields produced abundant harvests. Year after year, his barns were full, but he told himself they were not full enough. I must build bigger barns. He said to himself, I must store more grain. A famine could come, or prices could fall. I am not yet secure. So he denied himself rest, denied himself joy, and poured all his energy into accumulation. He tore down his old barns and built magnificent new ones, the largest in the entire region. He watched them fill to the bursting point with wheat and barley. Finally, the day came when the last wagon load of grain was packed away into the last new storehouse. His project was complete. His wealth was so vast it could last for many lifetimes. That evening, He stood before his great barns, the monuments to his life's work. He rubbed his hands together, a deep satisfaction swelling in his chest. He spoke to his own soul, a speech he had been rehearsing for years. "Ah, my soul," he said with a sigh of triumph, "you have done well. You have ample goods laid up for many, many years. The work is finished. Now, it is time to take your ease. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow, your real life finally begins." He went to bed that night feeling a profound sense of accomplishment, his mind filled with visions of the leisurely, luxurious future he had so meticulously earned. But as he slept, a quiet, uninvited visitor entered his room. It was not a thief come to steal his grain. It was a presence far more final, and a voice, calm and unarguable as the turning of the earth, spoke into the silence of his heart. "You fool, this very night, your life is being demanded of you, and all these things you have prepared, this vast fortune, these magnificent barns, whose will they be now and in the morning?" The sun rose on the great storehouses, full and silent, but the man who had built them would never see that day. His entire life had been a breathless preparation for a party that he never attended. He died in the waiting room of the future. This story is about all of us. We are all, in our own ways, that rich man. We live our lives in a state of constant preparation for a future where we will finally allow ourselves to be happy. I will be at peace when I finish this project, when I get the promotion, when I pay off the mortgage, when the children are grown, when I finally retire. We postpone our joy. We defer our peace, believing that our real life is something that starts tomorrow. But life is only ever happening now. This breath, this moment, the future you are so busy planning for is woven from the threads of the present moments you are living right now. The only way to guarantee a peaceful future is to live a peaceful present. The only way to prepare for a happy future is to find happiness in what is happening in this moment. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have goals or dreams. Goals give our journey a direction, but the wisdom is to find your life not in the distant destination, but in the quality of your footsteps on the path today. It is to find joy in the process of building the raft, not just in the fantasy of arriving on the other shore. So, what future are you waiting for? What condition must be met before you give yourself permission to feel whole, to feel at peace? Can you let go of that condition just for tonight? Can you let go of the need to control tomorrow and simply inhabit the reality of this moment? You are here. You are breathing. You are safe. That is the only truth that matters right now. But it is one thing to say this, and another thing to do it. The mind is a slippery creature, conditioned by a lifetime of wandering into the past and future. To help it stay here, in the sanctuary of the now, we need an anchor. We need a simple, reliable, ever-present tool that can hold us steady when the currents of thought try to pull us away. Fortunately, we are all born with one. It is the most intimate and faithful companion we will ever have. It is our own breath. We have walked the landscapes of the past and the future, seeing them as phantom lands that steal the life from our present. We have made the decision to put down the heavy boulders of yesterday and to release the misty grip of tomorrow. The sanctuary is here. Peace is now. But even with this understanding, we know how easily the mind is pulled away. It is like a small boat on a vast ocean, and the thoughts of past and future are powerful. Habitual currents, to keep from being swept away. Our boat needs an anchor. It needs something solid, something real, something that can only be found in the waters of the present moment. We do not need to search for this anchor. We were born with it. It has been with us through every moment of our lives. Faithful and true, it is your own breath. Think of it. Your breath is the most intimate and constant companion you will ever have. It was the first thing you received when you entered this world, and it will be the last thing you release when you leave it. It asks for nothing. It operates quietly in the background, sustaining you, nourishing you, without ever needing a word of thanks. And it has a magical quality. It can only exist right now. You cannot take a breath that is in the past. You cannot take a breath that is in the future. To be aware of your breathing is, by definition, to be present. It is the perfect, portable, and utterly reliable anchor for the mind. Coming back to the breath is coming back home. For many of us, when we first hear about observing the breath, we immediately begin to control it. We think we have to breathe in a special, deep, meditative way. But the beauty of this practice is its simplicity. You don't have to do anything at all. Your body knows how to breathe. It has been breathing perfectly your entire life without your conscious help. Your only task is to become a gentle, curious witness to this natural rhythm. There is no goal to achieve, no state to attain. The practice is simply to notice, to feel, to be with the breath as it happens. So now, let us begin. Wherever you are, resting, allow your attention to turn inward, toward the sensation of your own breathing. You don't need to change it in any way. Just notice it. Where do you feel the breath most clearly? Perhaps you feel it at the tip of your nostrils, a subtle coolness as the air enters, and a gentle warmth as the air leaves. You can rest your attention right there, at that gateway where the world and your body meet. Or perhaps you feel the breath more in your chest, the gentle rise as the lungs expand, and the soft fall as they release. Or maybe you feel it deeper, in your abdomen, a subtle swelling with the in-breath, and a gentle softening with the out-breath. It doesn't matter where you choose. Simply pick one spot, and let your awareness rest there, like a butterfly resting on a flower. Now, let us add a soft mental note. As you breathe in, you can say to yourself, silently, in, and as you breathe out, you can say, out, in, out, in, out. This simple label helps to keep the mind anchored. It gives the restless monkey mind a simple, gentle task. There is no need to rush. The breath will set its own rhythm. Your job is just to follow along, breathing in. I know I am breathing in, breathing out. I know I am breathing out. This is the simple, profound instruction the Buddha gave. It is the foundation of peace. The Buddha once taught this very practice to his young son, Rahula. Rahula was bright and eager, and he wanted to learn the secrets to enlightenment. But the Buddha always brought him back to this most basic, most essential practice. He used a simple, beautiful analogy. Rahula, he said, imagine a skilled woodworker, a carpenter who wants to saw a long piece of timber in a perfectly straight line. First, he draws a line with his ink. Then, he takes up his saw. As he pulls the saw toward himself, He knows. I am pulling. As he pushes the saw away from himself, he knows. I am pushing. He doesn't have to struggle or force it. His attention is steady, gentle, and focused only on the line. He just knows the motion of the saw. Rahula. Your attention on your breath should be just like that. When you have a long in-breath, you just know. This is a long in-breath. When you have a short out-breath, you just know. This is a short out-breath. There is no need for struggle, only gentle, steady awareness. So, be like the carpenter. Your breath is the saw, moving back and forth. Your awareness is the steady hand, guiding it without force. Now, of course, the mind will wander. This is not a sign of failure. It is simply the nature of the mind. You will be following the breath, and suddenly you will find yourself in the middle of planning tomorrow, or replaying a conversation from yesterday. The moment you realize you have wandered is a moment of victory. You have woken up. When this happens, there is no need for frustration. Be gentle with yourself. Silently acknowledge where the mind went. Thinking or worrying, and then, as if you were guiding a beloved child or a small puppy by the hand, gently, kindly, escort your attention back to the anchor of the breath. This process of wandering, noticing, and gently returning, this is the practice. It is a training in patience and self-compassion. Now we can deepen the practice. We can use the breath to actively cultivate peace in the body and mind. As you breathe in, be aware of your entire body and silently offer the intention, calming, breathing in. I calm my body. As you breathe out, feel a gentle release of tension and offer the intention, releasing, breathing out. I release all the tension and worry, calming, releasing, breathing in. I feel myself arriving fully in this present moment. Breathing out, I feel a sense of stability, of being home, arriving, home. The breath is your refuge. It is a safe harbor that is available to you in any moment of any day. When you feel overwhelmed by emotion, when the storms of life are raging, you can always drop your anchor. You can always take one conscious breath. In that single breath, there is a space of freedom, a space of peace. It is always here for you. So continue to rest with this rhythm, the gentle ebb and flow of your own life force. There is nothing else you need to do, nowhere else you need to be. Everything you have been searching for, peace, stillness, a sense of safety, is right here, in the simple, miraculous reality of your own breathing. Allow it to soothe you. Allow it to rock you gently, like a lullaby. Let each in-breath be a gift of life and presence. Let each out-breath be an act of letting go, a surrender into rest. The anchor is secure. The boat is steady. You are safe in the calm waters of the present moment. Now that we are here, anchored and calm, we can begin the beautiful work of tending to the garden of our heart. We can actively cultivate the flowers of joy and kindness. And the first, most essential flower we must learn to nurture is the flower of compassion for ourselves. We are resting in the quiet harbor of the present moment, held steady by the gentle, rhythmic anchor of the breath. The storms of the past and future have subsided. The waters of the mind are calm. From this place of stability, we can begin the most beautiful work of the human heart, the cultivation of kindness. And the path of wisdom teaches us that this cultivation must always begin at home, within our own being. For many of us, this is the most difficult step of all. We can find it easier to offer compassion to a stranger, or even an enemy, than to offer it to ourselves. Within our own minds lives our harshest critic, our most relentless judge. This inner critic is a familiar voice. It's the voice that whispers, "You're not good enough." It's the voice that replays your mistakes on a loop, pointing out every flaw and failure. It's the voice that compares you to others and always finds you lacking. If a friend came to you, hurting and full of doubt, you would never speak to them the way this inner voice speaks to you. You would offer them comfort, reassurance, and kindness. You would tell them they are worthy of love and happiness. And yet, we deny ourselves this same fundamental kindness every single day. We live in a state of inner conflict, at war with ourselves. We cannot pour from an empty cup. To try and offer genuine love to others when we are starving for it ourselves is exhausting and often unsustainable. It is like trying to build a beautiful house on a foundation of sand. The practice of metta, or loving kindness, is the process of building a solid, unshakable foundation of friendship with yourself. It is the act of filling your own cup, so that your kindness can naturally and effortlessly overflow to all those around you. This is not selfishness. It is the most essential act of self-preservation and the true beginning of compassion. This practice is gentle and simple. It does not ask you to force any feeling that isn't there. It only asks you to plant a seed. We do this through the silent offering of phrases of well-wishing to ourselves. We are not stating a fact, but setting an intention, a heartfelt wish. The feeling will follow in its own time. To begin, you might find it helpful to place a hand gently over the center of your chest, over your heart. This physical touch is a simple act of warmth and friendship. It is a way of saying, "I am here, I am listening." Now, allow your awareness to rest in this space in your chest. Let your breath be soft and natural. And now, I invite you to silently, gently, offer these phrases to the very center of your being. The first phrase is, "May I be safe." This is a wish for safety from all inner and outer harm. A wish to be safe from the accidents and dangers of the world. But even more, a wish to be safe from the cruelty of your own judgment. It is a wish for a sanctuary of peace within yourself. Breathing in, you can feel the intention. Breathing out, you can offer the words silently, "May I be safe." The second phrase is, "May I be happy." This is not a wish for fleeting pleasure from external things. It is a wish for a deep, authentic happiness that arises from a heart at peace, a genuine joy in being alive. It is a wish that you may touch the seeds of joy that are already within you. Silently, gently, repeat the phrase, "May I be happy." The third phrase is, "May I be healthy." This is a wish for the well-being of your whole self, for your body to be strong and free from illness, for your mind to be clear and free from distress, for your heart to be resilient and open. It is a wish for total, holistic health. With a kind intention, offer the words, "May I be healthy." And the fourth phrase is, "May I live with ease." This is not a wish for a life with no challenges. Challenges are a part of life's river. This is a wish that you may navigate those challenges with grace, with less struggle, with a sense of gentle acceptance. It is a wish to be free from the inner friction of anxiety and resistance, a wish for a life of flow and peace. Gently offer yourself this wish. May I live with ease. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Continue to repeat these phrases silently, like a gentle, loving mantra. You can time them with your breath if you wish, letting each phrase ride on the out-breath, a soft release into your own heart. As you do this, you may notice some resistance. A part of your mind might object. It might say, "This is silly," or "I don't feel this," or even, "I don't deserve this." If this happens, it is perfectly okay. It is to be expected. That is simply the voice of the inner critic, feeling threatened by this new language of kindness. Do not fight with this voice. Do not argue with it. Simply acknowledge it. The voice of doubt is here. And then, with even more gentleness, return to the phrases. You are offering this kindness to the part of you that feels unworthy. You are holding that hurting part of yourself in the arms of your loving intention. There is a story of a wise old monk who lived a life of deep peace. A young student noticed that the monk always carried a small, smooth stone statue of the Buddha in his pocket. He would hold it in his hand as he walked, and place it in front of him as he sat to eat. One day, the student gathered his courage and asked, "Master, you teach us not to cling to forms and idols. Why, then, do you always carry that little statue?" The old monk looked at the student with a warm, loving smile. He took the small statue out and placed it in the palm of his hand. "I do not carry this as an idol to worship," he explained. "I carry it as a friend, as a reminder when I feel lost, or when my own mind becomes harsh and critical. I hold this stone. I feel its smoothness, its coolness. I remember the story of the Buddha, a man who attained perfect peace and boundless compassion. And then, I remember his most important teaching, that this same potential, this same capacity for love and wisdom, this Buddha nature, is not something outside of us. It is the very essence of who we are. It is inside you, and it is inside me, waiting to be discovered. I carry this little friend to remind me to be kind to the Buddha that lives within myself." This practice of metta, of offering these phrases to yourself, is like holding that small, smooth statue. The phrases, "May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease," are a way of acknowledging and befriending the goodness, the light, the Buddha nature that already exists within you. No matter how deeply it may feel buried, you are polishing the stone of your own heart. With each repetition, you are softening the sharp edges of self-judgment. You are creating a warm, welcoming home inside yourself, a place you can always return to, a place of unconditional friendship. Rest in this field of kindness. Let the words wash over you, not as demands, but as gentle blessings. As we allow this warmth to fill us, we may notice something beautiful begins to happen. The cup starts to feel full, and when a cup is full, its nature is to overflow. This kindness is not meant to be kept only for ourselves. Its very nature is to radiate, to expand, and so, from this stable foundation of self-compassion, we can now begin to open the doors of our heart sharing this gift of loving kindness with all those around us. Having filled our own hearts with the gentle warmth of unconditional friendship, we feel the cup begin to overflow. This kindness, this metta, is not meant to be a secret, kept only for ourselves. Its very nature is to radiate, to expand, to touch the world like the light of a candle that effortlessly fills a dark room. The loving kindness we have cultivated can now illuminate the lives of others. The practice is to simply open the doors of the heart and allow this warmth to flow outward, intentionally and systematically, until it embraces all of life. Let us begin this gentle expansion. First, bring to mind a person for whom you feel great affection and gratitude. It may be a dear friend, a beloved family member, a respected teacher, or even a cherished pet. Someone who has shown you kindness, someone for whom your heart feels a natural warmth. Picture this being in your mind's eye as clearly as you can. See them smiling. See the light in their eyes. Now, just as you offered the phrases to yourself, to begin to offer them to this dear one, silently, from your heart to theirs. Send these wishes. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. As you repeat these phrases, imagine your kind wishes reaching them, wrapping them in a blanket of warmth and care. Feel the joy that comes from wishing another well. There is no need to strive, just a gentle, heartfelt offering. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Now, let us stretch the muscle of the heart a little further. Bring to mind what is called a neutral person. This is someone you see in your daily life, but for whom you feel no strong emotion, either positive or negative. It could be the person who delivers your mail, a cashier at a store you frequent, or a neighbor you simply nod to on the street. You know their face, but you do not know their story. Bring this person to mind. Acknowledge that just like you, and just like your dear friend, this person also has a deep desire to be happy and to be free from suffering. They too have hopes, dreams, and fears. Recognizing this shared humanity, now offer the same phrases of loving kindness to them. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. You may notice this feels different, perhaps less emotional. That is perfectly fine. The intention is the practice. You are consciously choosing to extend goodwill beyond your immediate circle. As we practice this, the rigid walls we build between me and you, between friend and stranger, to begin to soften. We start to see with the eyes of the heart, recognizing that at the deepest level, all beings are united in their wish for peace and well-being. This profound understanding is the root of true compassion, and it has the power to perform miracles, to transform even the deepest darkness into light. The most powerful illustration of this is the story of the Buddha and the fearsome murderer, Angulimala. In the time of the Buddha, there was a man who brought terror to the entire kingdom of Kosala. His name was Angulimala, which meant finger necklace, for he wore a gruesome garland made from the fingers of his victims. He was a ruthless killer, living in the forest and preying on anyone who dared to travel the roads. Entire villages were abandoned in fear of him. The king himself sent soldiers to capture him, but they were too terrified to succeed. One morning, the Buddha, taking up his bowl, calmly began to walk down the very road that led to Angulimala's forest. Villagers and farmers saw him and cried out in alarm. "Do not go that way." "Blessed One," they pleaded, "Angulimala is on that road he kills without mercy. He will surely harm you." The Buddha heard their cries, but he continued on his way, his steps mindful and serene, his heart filled not with fear, but with an immense and powerful compassion. Angulimala, from his lookout point, saw the lone monk walking toward him. He was astonished. Most people ran from him, but this man was walking directly into his grasp. He was pleased. This will be an easy kill, he thought. He grabbed his sword and shield and began to run after the Buddha. But a strange and miraculous thing occurred. Although the Buddha was only walking at a normal, peaceful pace, Angulimala, running with all his might, could not catch up to him. He was pouring with sweat, his legs and lungs aching, but the figure of the monk remained just ahead of him, exhausted and utterly bewildered. Angulimala roared, "Stop! Monk, stand still." The Buddha, without breaking his stride, looked back over his shoulder and replied, his voice as clear and calm as a temple bell, "I have stopped. Angulimala, it is you who have not stopped." The murderer was thunderstruck. "What do you mean?" he panted. "You are still walking, yet you say you have stopped. I have stopped running, yet you say I have not. What is the meaning of this?" The Buddha turned to face him fully, his eyes radiating a fearless, unconditional kindness. "I have stopped forever. Angulimala," he said, "I have stopped inflicting harm on any living being. I have laid down all weapons. I am still. You, on the other hand, are still running. You are running in the endless, frantic race of violence, hatred, and cruelty. Your mind knows no stillness. Your heart knows no peace. The question is not for me. It is for you. When will you stop?" In that moment, something broke open in Angulimala's heart. For the first time in his life, someone was not looking at him with terror or hatred. They were looking at him with a penetrating compassion that saw past the monster to the deeply suffering man underneath. The Buddha's fearless presence acted as a mirror, and in it, Angulimala saw the horrific truth of his own life, the terrible prison of rage he had built for himself. The weight of his past actions crashed down upon him. He threw his sword to the ground, cast off his gruesome necklace, and fell at the Buddha's feet. Weeping, he begged to be accepted as a student, to be shown the way to stop running. The Buddha accepted him into the monastic order, and through great effort and remorse, the man who was once a fearsome killer eventually became a fully awakened, enlightened saint. This story reveals the profound power of compassion. The Buddha's greatest gift to Angulimala was his presence. He saw the suffering behind the violence. He saw the empty boat being tossed in a storm of hatred. While we may not meet anyone as extreme as Angulimala, we all meet difficult people. This teaching invites us to look for the suffering behind their actions, to see the empty boat, and to respond not with fear or anger, but with the strength of a kind heart. And perhaps the most practical way we can offer this gift is through our full, mindful presence. Often, the most healing thing we can do for another person is not to offer advice or try to fix their problems, but simply to sit with them, to listen deeply, and to be a calm, non-judgmental space for them to be themselves. This is the gift of your presence. And so, We complete our circle of kindness. Let us radiate these wishes now, not just to one person, but to all beings, everywhere, without exception, just as the sun shines its warmth on all without discrimination on the flowers and the weeds, the saints and the sinners, so too can our hearts radiate this unconditional goodwill. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease. Imagine this light of loving kindness flowing from your heart, expanding outward, filling the room, the building, the city, the country, spreading across the entire earth, touching every living creature. This beautiful, open-hearted state is a taste of freedom, but we live in a complex world. Life presents us with pain, with injustice, with loss. How do we keep this soft, open heart from being overwhelmed? How do we stay balanced when faced with the inevitable storms of life? For this, we need to cultivate another quality, a partner to compassion. It is the quality of deep inner balance, of unshakable peace. This quality is called equanimity. We have opened our hearts, allowing the gentle warmth of loving kindness to flow first toward ourselves, and then outward, to embrace all of life. This open, compassionate heart is a beautiful and precious thing, but it is also a soft heart, and we live in a world that is not always gentle. Life brings with it the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. We experience praise, and we experience blame. We have moments of gain and moments of loss. We feel pleasure and we feel pain. Like the wind, these forces blow upon us constantly, and if we are not well grounded, they can toss us about, leaving us feeling exhilarated one moment and devastated the next. To protect our soft heart, we need not build a wall of armor around it. Instead, we need to cultivate a deep inner resilience. This quality, a peaceful partner to compassion, is known as upekkha, or equanimity. Equanimity is often misunderstood. It is not indifference, apathy, or emotional detachment. Indifference says, I don't care. Equanimity says, I care deeply, but I will not be shattered. I will not lose my peace. It is a spacious, steady, and wise heart that can hold all of life's experiences without being swept away by them. It is the deep, quiet confidence that you can handle whatever comes. It is the balance born of wisdom. Imagine a great, ancient bamboo grove. A mighty storm rolls in, with howling winds that could shatter the trunks of giant oak trees. An oak tree is rigid, strong, and unyielding. When the wind blows too hard against it, its great strength becomes its weakness, and it cracks and falls. But the bamboo is different. Its roots are deep and firmly planted in the earth. This is our grounding in practice and wisdom. Its stalk is hollow. This is our non-attachment, our spacious mind, and its body is segmented, giving it an incredible flexibility. When the fierce wind blows, the bamboo does not resist. It bends, it bows, sometimes all the way to the ground. It lets the energy of the storm pass right through it, and when the storm is over, it gently, gracefully returns to its upright position, unharmed, still reaching for the sky. To cultivate equanimity is to learn to be like the bamboo in the wind. There is a classic Zen story that perfectly illustrates this deep, flexible strength. In a village in Japan lived a wise and respected Zen master. He was known for his simple life and quiet integrity. One day, a beautiful young woman from the village was discovered to be pregnant. Her parents, furious and ashamed, demanded to know who the father was. The frightened girl, not wanting to reveal her lover, was a young man who worked in the fish market, randomly named the Zen master. In a rage, the parents, followed by a crowd of scandalized villagers, stormed to the master's small hut. They shouted at him, called him a hypocrite, a fraud, a lecher who preyed on the innocent. They spat insults at him, completely destroying the reputation he had built over a lifetime. Throughout this torrent of abuse, the master sat in perfect stillness. He did not defend himself. He did not argue. He simply listened. When their fury was finally spent, they told him that since he was the father, he would have to take responsibility for the child. The master's only reply was a calm, quiet, "Is that so?" When the child was born, a beautiful baby boy, he was unceremoniously brought to the disgraced master. The master accepted the infant with gentle care. His life changed completely. He begged for milk from his neighbors, who now looked upon him with scorn. He learned to care for the child, enduring the insults and the loss of all his students and all his honor, but he never lost his inner peace. A year passed. The young mother, tormented by her conscience, could no longer bear the weight of her lie. She confessed to her parents that the real father was the young man from the market. The parents were horrified by what they had done. They rushed back to the master's hut, along with the villagers, and fell to the ground before him. They prostrated themselves, apologizing profusely, begging for his forgiveness, explaining the whole terrible mistake. They praised his patience, his nobility, his compassion. They told him he was a true saint. The master listened to their long, emotional confession. Then he calmly went and got the child, who was now healthy and happy, and gently handed him back to his mother. His only reply to all their apologies and praise was a quiet, "Is that so?" This response, "Is that so?" is the voice of equanimity. It is one of the most profound teachings ever uttered. It was not a sign of indifference. When he was blamed, it didn't say, "I don't care." He said, "Is that so?" In other words, this is the reality of this moment. You all believe I am the father. The story has changed. The winds of blame are blowing. What is needed now? What was needed was for the baby to be cared for. So he cared for the baby. He did not get lost in a mental storm about his reputation or the injustice of it all. He simply dealt with the situation at hand. When he was praised, he didn't say, "Finally, you recognize my greatness," he said. "Is that so?" In other words, this is the new reality of this moment. You all believe I am a saint. The story has changed again. The winds of praise are blowing. What is needed now? What was needed was for the baby to be with his real mother. So he gave the baby back. His inner peace was not dependent on their blame or their praise. His happiness was not a function of his reputation. His roots were sunk deep into a reality that the winds of public opinion could not touch. He was the bamboo, bending with the storm, but never breaking. We can bring this practice into our own lives. We are constantly blown by the winds of gain and loss, praise and blame. You receive a compliment at work, and you feel elated. Your mood soars. You receive a criticism, and you feel crushed. Your mood plummet. Your inner peace is on a roller coaster controlled by external events and other people's opinions. Equanimity is the practice of getting off the roller coaster when something good happens. When you receive praise or experience success, enjoy it, but see it for what it is, a pleasant, passing wind. You can say to yourself, this is a pleasant feeling. Is that so? And you enjoy it without clinging, knowing it will change. When something difficult happens, when you are criticized or face a loss, allow yourself to feel the sting of the first arrow, but then you can create a space of wisdom. You can say to yourself, this is an unpleasant feeling. Is that so? And you meet it with balance, not letting it spiral into the second and third arrows of despair. This is the art of untying your well-being from the unpredictable weather of the world. This profound balance is not a mere mental trick. It arises from seeing the world with incredible clarity. The master could remain so calm because he understood that both the disgraced monk and the living saint were just stories, concepts created in the minds of the villagers. He wasn't attached to either identity. He knew his true nature was something deeper, something untouched by their opinions. This points to a deeper truth about the nature of reality itself, an understanding that all things are far less solid and separate than they appear. To truly be the bamboo, we must understand the nature of the ground in which we are rooted. We must look into the interdependent, interconnected nature of all things, which the sages have called shunyata, or emptiness, the deep, unshakable peace of the wise master, the flexible, resilient strength of the bamboo in the wind. These qualities do not come from mere willpower or a stoic personality. They arise from a profound shift in perception, a fundamentally different way of seeing the world. It is a way of seeing that dissolves the illusion of separation and reveals the universe to be a single, seamless, and breathtakingly intricate dance of interconnection. The ancient term for this wisdom is shunyata, often translated as emptiness. This word can sound cold, or frightening, or nihilistic. It might suggest a great, dark void where nothing matters. But this is a deep misunderstanding. Emptiness, in this tradition, does not mean nothingness. It means empty of a separate, independent, isolated self. Nothing in the entire cosmos exists on its own. Everything leans on everything else. To be is to interbe. Let us look at something simple. Imagine you are holding a single sheet of paper. It seems like a solid, separate object. But if we look deeply, with the eyes of wisdom, we can see that this sheet of paper contains the entire universe. For this paper to exist, there first had to be a tree. For the tree to exist, it needed sunshine, it needed rain, and it needed the rich soil of the earth. So the sun, the clouds, and the earth are all present. Right here, in this sheet of paper, a lumberjack had to cut down the tree, and for that lumberjack to exist, he needed parents, and he needed to eat bread that was baked from wheat, that also needed the sun and the rain and the earth. So the logger and the farmer and the baker are all here. In this sheet of paper, the paper had to be transported to a mill, processed by people and machines, and brought to a store, so the miners who dug the iron for the truck the factory workers, the truck driver, they are all here. If you were to remove any one of these elements, if you were to remove the sun, for example, the sheet of paper could not exist. It is empty of a separate, solitary self, but it is full of the entire cosmos. Its being is an interbeing. This is true for everything, including ourselves. And there is no more beautiful way to understand this than to contemplate the life of a cloud. Imagine a beautiful, white, fluffy cloud floating in a vast blue sky. Where did it come from? It did not appear from nothing. The sun, shining its warm rays on the surface of the ocean or a great lake, caused the water to rise as vapor. The vapor gathered in the sky, cooled and condensed, and there, our cloud was born. So the cloud is a continuation of the sun and the sea. It is filled with the light of the sun and the wetness of the water. It drifts on the wind, which is also a part of its existence. Its shape is always changing. One moment it looks like a dragon, the next, a castle, the next, a wisp of cotton. It is not attached to any single form. It is a process, a dance. Then, the cloud gathers more moisture. It grows heavy, and it begins to release its water as rain. Is the cloud dying? It may seem so. Its form is disappearing from the sky, but death is just a concept. The cloud is simply transforming. It is continuing its journey in a new form. The rain falls onto a mountainside and gathers into a small, bubbling stream. The stream sings its way down the mountain, joining other streams, becoming a powerful river that flows through valleys and plains. The river quenches the thirst of the animals and nourishes the great trees on its banks. It flows into a garden, and a thirsty flower drinks deeply from it. The flower, nourished by the water that was once the cloud, blossoms into a radiant beauty. The water flows into a field of tea plants. The plants absorb the water, and their leaves become lush and green. The tea leaves are picked, dried, and packaged. You take some of these leaves and place them in a cup. You pour hot water over them, and the water becomes a beautiful, fragrant tea. As you lift the cup to your lips, you can smile, because you know you are drinking the cloud. The cloud is not dead. It is alive and well, right here in your cup. It has become the tea, and when you drink the tea, the cloud becomes a part of you. It becomes the very cells of your body, the thoughts in your mind. The cloud is also in the flower that delights your eyes, and in the river that sings its eternal song. The cloud has not been lost. It has just changed its form. It interacts with everything. You, too, are just like that cloud. As you rest here, feel the reality of your own interbeing. You are not a separate, isolated self, cut off from the world. You are a magnificent, temporary manifestation of the entire universe. Look at your own hand. In this hand, you can see your mother and your father, and their parents, and all your ancestors stretching back through time. Their life, their love, their struggles are all present in the very cells of your hand. In this hand is the food you ate today, and in that food is the sun that gave it energy, the earth that gave it substance, and the rain that gave it life. The farmer who grew it and the person who cooked it are also here, in your hand. The air you are breathing right now connects you to all the trees and plants of the world. In a silent, intimate exchange, The words and ideas in your mind connect you to all the teachers, Buddhists, and thinkers who have ever lived. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a single drop. When we can feel this truth, not just as an idea, but as a living reality, the roots of our suffering begin to wither and die. How can we feel truly, fundamentally lonely, when we are so intimately connected with all of life? The feeling of isolation is an illusion. We are held and supported by the cosmos in every moment. How can we be arrogant or filled with self-importance when we see that our self is just a temporary pattern, a wave in a vast sea? The need to defend a small, fragile ego becomes less urgent. The praise and blame of the world, the winds that rocked the Zen master, lose their power, because we know our true identity is not found in people's fleeting opinions. It is as vast as the universe itself. How can we be terrified of death like the cloud? Can we really die? Or do we simply change our form, the love we have given, the kindness we have shown, the children we have raised, the work we have done? All of this continues, flowing into the great river of life, transforming into new forms. This insight is the ultimate source of the bamboo's strength, the master's peace, and the heart's deepest compassion when we understand that the other person is not separate from us, that their joy is our joy, and their suffering is our suffering. Kindness becomes the only natural response when we truly see this beautiful, intricate web of life, this seamless tapestry of which we are a part. A profound sense of gratitude cannot help but arise. It is a gratitude for the sun, the cloud, the earth, the ancestors, the food, for the countless hidden conditions that have come together to make our precious existence possible in this very moment. This gratitude helps us find beauty not only in the grand design, but also in the small, humble, and even imperfect parts of life, resting in the awareness of our deep connection to all of life. A natural sense of gratitude begins to blossom in the heart. It is a quiet, profound thankfulness for the sun, the rain, the earth, and the countless beings and conditions that support our existence in every single moment. This gratitude can transform the way we see the world, turning the ordinary into the miraculous. But what happens when we turn this gaze inward so often? While we can appreciate the wild, imperfect beauty of a forest, we relentlessly judge the imperfections in ourselves. We live under the quiet tyranny of a self-imposed perfectionism. We carry in our minds an idealized image of who we should be: more disciplined, more successful, more patient, more enlightened. We compare the reality of our lives to this flawless fantasy, and we always find ourselves falling short. Our attention is drawn not to the whole vessel of our life, but to its cracks, its leaks, its flaws, and this creates a constant, low-grade feeling of failure, of not enoughness. We are always trying to fix ourselves, to patch the leaks, to present a perfect, unbroken surface to the world. It is an exhausting way to live. But what if these cracks are not mistakes? What if they are, in fact, the very openings through which our unique light can shine? What if our imperfections are the source of our deepest character, our most profound compassion, and our most unexpected gifts to the world? The Japanese have an art form called kintsugi, where they repair broken pottery with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The belief is that the object is more beautiful and more precious because it was broken. The cracks are not hidden. They are illuminated, celebrated as a vital part of the object's history. Perhaps we can learn to see ourselves in this way, not as something to be fixed, but as something to be held with a reverence that honors our entire story, including the broken places. There is a beautiful folk tale from India that speaks to this wisdom. It is the story of an old water-bearer. Every morning for many years, he would make the long journey from his master's house, down a winding path to a clear stream. He carried a long wooden pole across his shoulders, and from each end of the pole hung a large clay bucket. His task was to fill the buckets with water and carry them back to his master's house. One of the buckets was perfect. It held every drop of water from the stream to the house. But the other bucket was not perfect. It had a small, thin crack in its side, and so, every day, by the time the water-bearer arrived back at the master's house, the perfect bucket was still full, but the cracked bucket was only half full. For 2 long years, this went on. The perfect bucket was proud of its accomplishments, fulfilling its duty flawlessly. But the poor, cracked bucket was deeply ashamed of its imperfection. It felt miserable that it could only do half of what it was made for. It saw itself as a failure. One evening, as the water-bearer was about to set out, the cracked bucket could no longer hold its silence. It spoke to him, its voice filled with sorrow. "Master," it said, "I am so ashamed. I must apologize to you. For 2 years, because of this flaw of mine, I have been leaking water all along the path back to your house. You do all of this hard work, walking this long path every day, and because of me, you only receive half the reward for your efforts." The old water-bearer listened with a kind and gentle expression. He was not angry. He looked at the bucket with great compassion and smiled. "My dear friend," he said softly, "you have nothing to be ashamed of. As we return today, I want you to do something for me. I want you to look closely at the path, but only on your side of it. Pay attention to what you see." And so they made their daily journey. The water-bearer filled both buckets at the stream and began the long walk back. The cracked bucket, as usual, felt the water trickling out of its side, a constant reminder of its failure. But it did as the water-bearer had asked. It looked down at the edge of the path on its side, and for the first time, it was astonished to see a glorious, continuous line of beautiful wildflowers. There were vibrant pinks, deep purples, and sunny yellows, all growing in a profusion of life and color. It had never noticed them before. It looked over to the other side of the path, under the perfect bucket, and saw that it was just dust and stones. When they arrived at the master's house, the water-bearer set the buckets down. The cracked bucket was still only half full, but it was also filled with a new sense of wonder. The water-bearer smiled and said, "Did you see the beautiful flowers on your side of the path? I have always known about your crack. I have always known about your flaw. And so, I took advantage of it. 2 years ago, I planted flower seeds all along your side of the path. And every single day, as we have walked from the stream, you have been watering them. Because of you, just as you are, I have had these beautiful flowers to pick each day to decorate our master's table, without you being exactly, precisely the way you are. There would be no such beauty to grace his home. We are all that leaky bucket. We all have our cracks, our flaws, our wounds, our imperfect histories. We judge ourselves for these things. We believe they make us less worthy. We long to be the perfect, unbroken vessel. But this story invites us to look at our lives from a different perspective. What if the very things you see as your greatest flaws are, in fact, the source of your greatest gifts? Perhaps your shyness, which you see as a flaw, makes you an incredibly deep and attentive listener, a true refuge for your friends. Perhaps a past struggle with failure, which you see as a source of shame, has given you a profound empathy and a capacity to help others who are struggling. Perhaps a heart that has been broken open by grief now has a much greater capacity for compassion. What unexpected flowers might your cracks be watering? Can you begin to look at yourself, not with the eyes of a harsh judge, but with the wise, loving eyes of the water-bearer? This shift in perspective is the essence of gratitude. It is a gratitude not just for the good things, the successes, the moments of perfection. It is a gratitude for the whole of our life. It is the courage to be thankful for the challenges, the difficulties, and the losses, because we understand that these are our greatest teachers. These are the experiences that carve out the depth of our character, that build our resilience, and that soften our hearts with compassion. The heaviest rains produce the most vibrant flowers. To embrace our imperfection is to embrace our humanity. It is to finally be at peace with what is. This story also teaches us something profound about the nature of our daily lives. The water-bearer's task was simple, repetitive, mundane. He just carried water day after day. Yet, through his wisdom and his acceptance, this simple chore became an act of creating beauty, an act of service, a profound spiritual practice. This points us toward a liberating truth. We do not need to retreat from the world to find peace or enlightenment. The path is right here, in the midst of our ordinary lives. The sacred can be found in the simple act of washing a dish, walking to work, or carrying water. The story of the water-bearer and his leaky bucket teaches us to find value in our imperfections. It also reveals a deeper, more liberating truth. The water-bearer's daily task, a simple, repetitive, mundane chore, was transformed by his wisdom into an act of creating beauty. His life shows us that we do not need to retreat to a mountain cave or a silent monastery to find peace. The path is not separate from our life. The path is our life. In all its ordinary, everyday detail, many of us have a secret idea that spiritual awakening or enlightenment is a dramatic, otherworldly event. We imagine a flash of lightning, a sudden transcendence, a permanent state of bliss, where we float above the messy details of human existence. We believe that an enlightened person would no longer have to deal with traffic, or laundry, or difficult conversations, but the great masters of wisdom teach us something far more practical and profound. There is a famous Zen saying that captures this perfectly before enlightenment. Chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The external activities remain exactly the same. The world does not magically change. The difference is not on the outside, but entirely on the inside. Before enlightenment, the person chops the wood, but their mind is 1,000 miles away. They are thinking about what someone said to them yesterday. They are worrying about whether they will have enough wood for the winter. They are daydreaming about being somewhere else, doing something more important. The act of chopping wood is a chore, a means to an end. They are not truly there. Their body is chopping wood, but their mind, their spirit, is absent. After enlightenment, the person is still chopping wood, but now everything has changed because they are fully present. Their mind is not in the past or the future. It is right there with the axe, the wood, the body. They feel the solid weight of the axe handle in their hands. They see the intricate grain of the wood. They are aware of the muscles in their back and arms contracting and releasing. They hear the sharp, clean thwack as the blade bites into the log, and the satisfying crack as it splits in two. The act of chopping wood is no longer a chore. It is a dance. It is a meditation. It is life itself, expressing itself in this one simple, perfect action. They are not trying to get it over with. There is nowhere else to be. This moment of chopping wood is complete and whole in itself. The only thing that has changed is the quality of their presence. The secret of the path is not hidden in a complex text or a secret ritual. It is right here, in bringing our full attention to whatever we are doing. A young, earnest monk, after years of study and meditation in a monastery, felt he was still missing the essential point. He went to the old Zen master, who was renowned for his deep wisdom. "Master," the young monk said with a bow, "I have been here for a long time. I have followed all the rules. I have meditated for countless hours, and I have read all the sacred texts. But I still feel I have not grasped the core of your teaching. Please, I beg you, reveal to me the ultimate secret of the path." The old master looked at the eager young man, his eyes calm and clear. He did not launch into a long philosophical discourse. He simply asked a question. "Have you eaten your morning rice porridge?" he asked. The young monk was taken aback by such an ordinary question, but he replied, "Yes, Master, I have." The master nodded, and then he delivered his profound instruction. "Then," he said, "go and wash your bowl." And with that, the master turned away. The young monk stood there, stunned into silence. In that one simple, earthy command, the entire path was revealed. The secret is not in the future. It is not in a mystical experience. The secret is in what is right in front of you. The secret is to do the next thing with your whole being. If you have just eaten, the next part of reality is the dirty bowl. Don't run away from it. Don't do it distractedly while thinking of more important spiritual matters. The washing of the bowl is the spiritual matter. To bring your full, undivided attention to that simple act is the practice. To feel the warmth of the water on your hands, to see the soap bubbles shimmer with light, to hear the sound of the porcelain as you place it on the drying rack. To be fully present for this experience is to be awake. To be awake is to be enlightened. Your kitchen sink can be as sacred as any cathedral. Your walk to work can be as profound as any pilgrimage. Your entire life becomes your meditation hall. This is a practice you can begin right now. In the smallest of ways, you do not need to set aside an hour. Just choose one simple, routine activity and decide to do it with the full, gentle attention of the Zen master. Perhaps it is the act of brushing your teeth. Instead of doing it automatically while your mind plans the day, truly be there. Feel the bristles on your teeth and gums. Taste the minty flavor of the paste. Feel your feet solid on the floor. Be completely present for those 2 minutes. Or perhaps it is the act of drinking a glass of water. Before you drink, take a moment Look at the water in the glass. See the light reflecting in it. Acknowledge that this water connects you to the clouds, the rain, the rivers. Then, as you drink, feel the coolness in your mouth, the sensation of it trickling down your throat, the feeling of your body receiving this gift of life. You have transformed a mundane action into a moment of mindfulness, a moment of connection. When we bring this quality of attention to the simple acts of our lives, we begin to notice things we have overlooked. We start to appreciate the profound gift of having a bowl to eat from, of having clean water to wash it with, of having food to nourish our bodies. This deep appreciation for the simple things helps us to see with stunning clarity the difference between what we truly need to be happy and the endless, restless desires that so often cause our suffering. When we are fully present with our simple bowl of rice, we realize it is enough. We can distinguish between this true nourishment and the hungry ghost of wanting more. Let us now look more closely at this crucial difference between our simple needs and our insatiable wants. When we are fully present, when we bring our whole being to the simple act of washing a bowl or chopping wood, we touch a deep and quiet sense of contentment. In that moment of pure presence, the bowl is enough, the water is enough, this breath is enough. This feeling of enoughness is a rare and precious treasure in our modern world, for it stands in direct opposition to one of the most powerful and relentless forces of the mind, the habit of endless wanting. To find true peace, we must learn to distinguish between two very different kinds of desire. One leads to well-being, and the other leads to perpetual dissatisfaction. The first kind of desire is a wholesome aspiration. In the Buddhist tradition, this is called chanda. This is the desire for what is good, true, and beautiful. It is the desire to learn and to grow. It is the desire to be a kinder, more compassionate person. It is the desire to be free from suffering and to help others be free from suffering. This is the noble desire that motivates us on our spiritual path. The desire that perhaps brought you to listen to these words tonight. Chanda is a skillful, creative, and positive energy. It is the heart's natural yearning for goodness. But there is another kind of desire, and this is the one that causes so much of our distress. This is the force of tanha, which translates as thirst or craving. This is not a gentle yearning, it is a hungry, grasping, addictive demand for more. It is the inner voice that is never satisfied. It is the persistent itch that can never be truly scratched. The ancient teachers compared tanha to the act of drinking salt water. A person is thirsty, so they drink the salty water of the ocean. It provides a moment of relief, but then, because of the salt, it makes them even thirstier than before. So they drink more and become thirstier still. In a maddening, self-perpetuating cycle that can only lead to exhaustion and pain. This thirst, this tanha, is the engine of our consumer culture. It is the constant whisper that you need the new phone, the faster car, the bigger house, the more fashionable clothes. You acquire the thing you crave, and for a moment, there is a flicker of pleasure, but almost immediately, the satisfaction fades, and the hungry eye of tanha begins to scan the horizon for the next thing to acquire, the next itch to scratch. It is a bottomless pit. This thirst is not just for things, it is a thirst for pleasant sensations, for a better taste, a more thrilling experience, a more comfortable feeling. and it is a thirst for becoming the desire for more status, more fame, more likes on a screen, a better reputation. We believe that if we can just get enough of these things, we will finally be happy. But the nature of tanha is that there is never enough. This is not a moral failing. It is a deep, conditioned habit of the human mind. And understanding it is the first step to becoming free from its tyranny. The path to peace is not found in satisfying this endless thirst, but in discovering a wealth that the thirst cannot touch. This is the wealth of contentment. There is a beautiful story about the beloved Japanese Zen poet and monk, Ryokan, who was a master of this kind of wealth. Ryokan lived a life of radical simplicity. His home was a tiny, dilapidated hut at the foot of a mountain. He owned almost nothing, a simple robe, a bowl for his food, some books, and his calligraphy brushes. He spent his days in meditation, writing poetry, playing with the village children, and appreciating the beauty of nature. He was considered a fool by some, but a great sage by others. One evening, a thief broke into Ryokan's little hut. The thief crept inside and began to search frantically for something to steal. He tossed aside the thin sleeping mat, looked under the wobbly table, and rummaged through the few small baskets. He grew more and more frustrated and disappointed. There was absolutely nothing of value. Just as the thief was about to leave in disgust, Ryokan returned from his evening walk. He saw the thief, but he did not see an enemy or a criminal. He saw a fellow human being who had clearly gone to a great deal of trouble and was about to leave empty-handed. Ryokan's heart was filled not with anger, but with compassion for the man's poverty and desperation. "My friend," Ryokan said gently, "you have come such a long way to visit me. You shouldn't have to leave with nothing. Please, accept my clothes as a gift." Without a moment of hesitation, Ryokan untied his only robe and offered it to the thief. The thief was utterly bewildered. He had never been treated with such kindness and generosity, especially by someone he was trying to rob. He mumbled a word of thanks, snatched the robe, and scurried away into the darkness. Ryokan was now left sitting naked in his empty hut. But he did not feel poor. He did not feel loss. He sat by the open doorway, the cool night air on his skin, and looked up at the sky. A brilliant, full moon was shining, bathing the entire landscape in a silent, silver light. Ryokan sighed, a deep sigh not of sadness, but of regret for the thief. "Poor fellow," he whispered to himself. "I wish I could have given him this beautiful moon." In this simple story lies the entire teaching. Ryokan's freedom and his wealth were not measured by what he possessed. His attachment to his few belongings was so light that he could give his only robe away without a second thought. His true treasures were things that could not be stolen. His peace of mind, his compassionate heart, and the beauty of the moonlit world, these were his riches. The thief, whose mind was consumed by tanha, by the thirst for things that could be owned, was the truly impoverished one. He came to steal a robe, and he completely missed the priceless treasure of the moon. We are so often like that thief. We spend our lives chasing after things that can be bought and sold, owned and lost, while overlooking the boundless, unownable treasures that are freely available to us in every moment. What are the beautiful moons in your own life? What are the sources of joy that require no ownership? The feeling of the sun warming your face on a cool day, the sound of a loved one's laughter, the intricate beauty of a spider's web, jeweled with morning dew, the deep satisfaction of a quiet, conscious breath. These are the riches of the present moment. They are the nourishment that satisfies the heart, not the salt water that increases its thirst. To turn our attention toward these simple, unownable gifts is to begin to starve the hungry ghost of tanha. It is to learn the profound secret of contentment. This is not a call to reject all material comfort, but to change our relationship to it, to hold things lightly, and to know, deep in our bones, where true, lasting happiness is found. Ryokan's story reveals another truth. His heart, free from the thirst of craving, was naturally a generous heart. When we realize we have enough, that we are enough, the desire to share what we have arises spontaneously and joyfully. This brings us to one of the most beautiful and healing practices on the path, the simple, powerful act of giving. The gentle Zen master Ryokan, sitting naked and serene in the moonlight, showed us a profound secret. A heart that is free from the restless thirst for more is a heart that is naturally full. When you know, deep in your bones, that you have enough, that you are enough, the desire to share what you have arises not as a burdensome duty, but as a spontaneous and joyful expression of your own contentment. This brings us to the practice of dana, a word from the ancient Pali language that means giving, generosity, or liberality. It is considered the very foundation of the spiritual path, a practice that has the power to dissolve the ego, open the heart, and create ripples of goodness in the world. When we hear the word giving, our minds often jump to the idea of money or material possessions. We might think, I don't have much to give, and feel a sense of inadequacy, but the wisdom of dana is far broader and deeper than that. It teaches that we all have infinite treasures to share. Regardless of our material wealth, we can practice giving our time, offering an hour to help a neighbor or listen to a friend. We can give our energy, helping with a task that is difficult for someone else. We can give the gift of our skills, sharing what we know to help another learn. We can give the gift of a simple, genuine smile to a stranger, an act that can brighten a person's entire day. One of the most precious gifts we can offer is the gift of our presence. As we saw with the Buddha and Angulimala, to give another person your full, undivided, non-judgmental attention can be a deeply healing and transformative act. In a world of constant distraction, to truly listen to someone is a rare and profound offering. We can also practice giving the gift of forgiveness, releasing someone from the prison of our resentment. This is a gift that frees the other person, but it frees us even more, unburdening our own hearts from the poison of bitterness. And we can give the gift of fearlessness by cultivating peace and integrity in our own lives. We become a calm and reassuring presence for others, showing them through our example that it is possible to live without being ruled by anxiety and anger. The practice of giving is a powerful antidote to the habits that cause us so much suffering. The mind's habit of craving, of tanha, is all about grasping, accumulating, and getting. The act of giving is its perfect opposite. It is about releasing, letting go, and opening. Every time we give freely, without expecting anything in return, we weaken the greedy muscle of the ego. We affirm a reality based on abundance and connection, rather than scarcity and separation. In the act of giving, The imaginary wall between me and you becomes thin and porous. We experience our shared humanity, and in doing so, we touch a deep and wholesome joy. This joy is not the fleeting, anxious excitement of satisfying a craving. It is a clean, bright, and expansive happiness. It is the joy of a warm heart, the joy of connection, the joy that comes from participating in the flow of life's goodness. The true value of a gift is not in its material worth, but in the purity of the intention behind it. A small offering, given with a full and generous heart, is 1,000 times more powerful than a great treasure given with pride or for show. There is a moving story that illustrates this truth. One cool morning, the Buddha and his community of monks were walking on their daily alms round through a village. As they walked, their presence was serene and majestic, a silent teaching in itself. By the side of the road sat a very poor man, a beggar who had nothing in the world except the thin, tattered cloak he wore to protect himself from the elements. As he watched the Buddha pass, his heart was filled with an overwhelming sense of reverence and love. A powerful urge to make an offering, to give something to this great teacher, arose within him. He looked at his empty hands, his ragged clothes, and his heart sank. He had nothing, no coin, no morsel of food, nothing worthy of such a person. He felt a pang of shame at his own poverty, but the feeling of devotion was stronger than his feeling of lack. He looked down at his own worn cloak. It was all he had, but it was clean. In a spontaneous gesture of profound generosity, he ripped a large piece from the cloak, his only worldly possession, and quickly, humbly, laid it on the path in front of the Buddha as a small ground cloth, a sign of his immense respect. As soon as his hands let go of the fabric, a miraculous feeling washed over him. It was a brilliant, radiant joy, more powerful than anything he had ever experienced. It was a warmth that spread from his heart through his entire body, a warmth far greater than the cloak had ever provided. He felt no loss. He felt no regret for having made his only garment smaller. He felt only the expansive, luminous happiness of a completely selfless act. The Buddha stopped. He saw the humble offering of torn cloth on the ground. He looked at the poor man, and he did not see a beggar. He saw a king of generosity. He smiled a smile of deep understanding and appreciation, acknowledging that this simple gift, given from a heart full of love, was more precious than all the gold in a royal treasury. This story teaches us that we all have something to give. We may feel like the poor man, focusing on what we lack, but we all have a metaphorical cloak. We all have our time, our energy, our attention, our kindness. When we give from what we have, with a full and open heart, we experience the truth that the giver receives more than the receiver. The reward is not in the future. It is not a transaction. The reward is the joy that is inherent in the act of giving itself. It is the feeling of connection, of abundance, of participating in the goodness of the world. So, as you rest tonight, and as you move into your day tomorrow, perhaps you can hold a gentle intention to find one small opportunity for Dana. It need not be a grand gesture. It can be as simple as letting another car merge into your lane in traffic. It can be offering a genuine and specific word of appreciation to a colleague or a family member. It can be the simple act of putting your phone down and giving your full, listening presence to a child. It can be as silent as sending a heartfelt wish for happiness to a stranger you pass on the street. Notice how it feels. Notice the warmth that arises from this simple act of opening. This practice of giving, of opening our heart to connect with others, is a powerful tool. But like all the powerful tools on this path, like mindfulness, like meditation, like these very stories, it is important that we learn to use them wisely. They are not possessions to be collected or accomplishments to show off. They are a means to an end, not an end in themselves. This brings us to a crucial teaching, the wisdom of knowing that the raft that carries you across the river is not the same as the shore you are trying to reach. The path we have been walking together tonight is rich with practices and ideas. We have explored the cultivation of loving kindness, the joy of generosity, the wisdom of equanimity, and the peace of being present. These are beautiful and powerful tools for the heart and mind. They are skillful means, passed down through generations, for easing our suffering and awakening our spirit. But like any set of powerful tools, it is essential that we understand their true purpose, so that we do not end up misusing them in a way that creates a new and more subtle kind of burden. The human mind is a curious thing. Its habit of grasping is so strong that it can take the very tools designed for liberation and turn them into another kind of prison. We can become attached to the practice of meditation and then feel guilty or anxious if we miss a day. We can accumulate spiritual knowledge from books and lectures and then become proud of how much we know, subtly looking down on those who seem less informed. We can create a new, refined, spiritual ego, an identity as a mindful person or a compassionate person. This new identity can be just another mask, another role we play, more subtle but just as constricting as any other. We can become rigid about rules and rituals, focusing on the outer form while forgetting the inner spirit. This is a very subtle trap. We believe we are freeing ourselves, but we are actually just building a more beautifully decorated cage. The Buddha was an eminently practical teacher. He often compared himself to a physician. If a person is shot with a poisoned arrow, he said, a good doctor does not waste time speculating about who shot the arrow, what their social class was, what kind of wood the arrow was made from, or what type of feathers were used. The doctor's only job is to get the arrow out and apply the antidote as quickly and effectively as possible. In the same way, the Buddha was not primarily interested in creating a complex philosophy for people to debate or a religion for people to worship. He was interested in one thing: diagnosing the cause of human suffering and offering a practical path to its end. He understood the mind's tendency to cling to anything and everything, including the very teachings meant to free it from clinging. And so, he offered his students one of the most important parables of all, the parable of the raft. As you rest here, imagine yourself listening to the Buddha as he tells this story. He asks you to picture a person standing on a shore. This shore is frightening. It is filled with dangers, with thorns and briars, with fear and uncertainty. This shore represents our ordinary, unawakened life, the endless cycle of craving and suffering. Across from this dangerous place is another shore. This other shore is safe, peaceful, and beautiful. It represents liberation, wisdom, and the end of suffering. Between these two shores flows a vast and turbulent river. There is no bridge to cross it, and no ferryman to carry you. To stay on this shore is to continue to suffer. The only way to find peace is to get to the other side. The person being intelligent and resourceful, decides not to despair. They walk along the riverbank and gather what they can find: grasses, twigs, branches, and leaves. They bind all of these things together with vines, working skillfully and diligently until they have constructed a simple, functional raft. Then, relying on the raft they have built, they get into the water. They push off from the dangerous shore and, paddling with their hands and feet, they make the great effort to cross the turbulent river. After a long and difficult journey, they arrive, safe and sound, on the beautiful other shore. They walk onto the solid ground, their heart filled with relief and gratitude. Now, the Buddha asks the crucial question: what, my friends, should this person do with the raft? Should they think to themselves, "This raft has been so very helpful to me. It saved my life. I built it with my own hands. I must not abandon it." Should they then, out of this sense of gratitude and attachment, hoist the raft onto their head or their back and carry it with them as they continue their journey on dry land? The answer is obvious. No, the Buddha says, that would be a foolish thing to do. The wise person would understand the raft's true purpose. They would think, this raft was absolutely essential for crossing the great river. But now that I am safely on the other shore, it is no longer useful. In fact, it has become a heavy burden. The wise person would push the raft back into the water, letting it float away. Or they would beach it on the shore, and then they would continue their journey inland, light, free, and unencumbered. Then the Buddha delivered the vital teaching in the same way. He said, "My teachings, the Dharma, are like a raft. They are taught for the sole purpose of crossing over, not for the purpose of holding on to. The dangerous shore is our life of confusion. The river is our suffering. The other shore is peace. And the raft is all of it. It is the mindfulness of the breath. It is the practice of loving kindness. It is the stories of the empty boat and the leaky bucket. It is the concepts of impermanence and no self. It is all the techniques, ideas, and methods we use to navigate our way from suffering to peace. They are tools. They are a means to an end. To cling to them, to turn them into a rigid dogma, to become proud of our practice or our knowledge, is to foolishly carry the raft on our head long after we have reached the shore. It is to mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself. So these words and stories you are listening to tonight are simply parts of a raft being offered to you. They are here to help you cross over from the shore of a restless, anxious mind to the shore of a quiet, peaceful rest. You do not need to memorize them. You do not need to become an expert in Buddhist philosophy. You do not need to judge yourself for not getting it perfectly or for your mind wandering. The only question that matters is this raft helping you to cross? Is it making you feel even just a little bit lighter? Is it helping you to let go of a single worry? Is it helping you to be a little kinder to yourself? Is it helping your body and mind to relax into sleep? Use what is helpful. Use the parts of the raft that give you buoyancy, and the rest, you can let it go. The goal is not to accumulate a raft of spiritual knowledge. The goal is a direct, lived experience of freedom. This parable reveals the Buddha's profound humility and the truly liberating, non-dogmatic spirit of his path. He did not want followers who would worship his words. He wanted to help human beings become free. A tool is to be used, not worshipped. You use a hammer to build a house, and then you live in the house. You don't put the hammer on an altar. The purpose of all this practice is to help you live your life, your ordinary, beautiful, imperfect life with more peace, more freedom, and more love. The raft is designed to get you to the other shore. This naturally makes us wonder, what is this other shore? Is it a faraway heaven? Is it a mythical paradise? Or is it something much closer, much more intimate, much more attainable than we have ever imagined? What does it truly mean to walk on the solid ground of peace? To be awake? Let us now, together, explore that beautiful shore. We have used the raft of the teachings to cross the great river, and now we find ourselves standing on the other shore. A quiet sense of arrival settles over us. But what is this place? Is it a distant, heavenly realm, a supernatural paradise? The great masters of the path smile at this question. They tell us that the other shore is not another place. It is another way of being. It is this very earth, this very life, but seen with new eyes, walked upon with new feet. The only difference is that now we have truly arrived. We have come home to the present moment. For so long, we have associated spiritual awakening with something dramatic and otherworldly. But the word nirvana, which points to this state of liberation, has a very simple, practical meaning. It means to extinguish or to blow out. What is it that is extinguished? It is the three fires that cause all of our suffering: the fire of greed and grasping desire, the fire of hatred and aversion, and the fire of delusion, of not seeing things as they truly are. When these fires are no longer raging, what is left is not a cold, empty void. What is left is the natural state of the mind, luminous, peaceful, clear, and full of a quiet, boundless compassion. This state is not in a faraway heaven. It is available right here, right now, in any moment that we are able to stop feeding the flames. How do we walk upon this other shore? How do we live in this state of peace? We do it by learning to inhabit each moment of our lives fully. We can start with the simple act of walking. For most of our lives, walking is an unconscious activity. Our goal is always to get somewhere else, to the office, to the car, to the next room. Our body is walking, but our mind is already at the destination, or lost in the past, or tangled in a worry. Mindful walking is a profound practice of arrival. The goal is not to get anywhere else. The goal is to be fully present with each step. The great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught a simple, powerful meditation for this practice. With each step, you can say silently to yourself, "I have arrived. I am home." Imagine this for a moment. Even as you lie still, imagine you are standing on soft earth. As you lift your foot, you are letting go of the past, letting go of all your burdens. As your foot moves through the air, you are moving through the freedom of the present moment. And as you place your foot down, feel the firm, solid, reliable contact with the ground. This is an arrival. You are connecting with reality. Right here, I have arrived. I am home. Where is this home? It is in the here. It is in the now. The earth is our true home, and it is always there, ready to support us, if only we will be present for it. Each step can be an act of love, a way of kissing the earth with your feet. When we walk like this, when we inhabit our lives with this quality of presence, we begin to see the world as it truly is. without the distorting filters of our likes and dislikes. We can see a flower in all its intricate, fleeting beauty, without the immediate grasping thought of, "I want it." We can experience a wave of sadness without the immediate aversion of, "I don't want this feeling. Get it away from me." We can hear a loud noise without our mind automatically labeling it bad or annoying. We are simply present with the raw data of life, the rich tapestry of sensations, sights, and sounds. This is freedom. It is the freedom to experience life directly, without being a prisoner of our own reactions. When we live in this way, we begin to understand what a true miracle is. We often think of miracles as supernatural events that violate the laws of physics, people walking on water or levitating in the air. But the real miracle is not to walk on water. The real miracle is to walk on this green earth, fully alive, fully present. The problem is not that life is lacking in miracles. The problem is that we are so often absent. We miss them. The in-breath you are taking right now is a miracle. It is the perfect collaboration of your diaphragm, your lungs, and the entire atmosphere of the planet. A silent gift of life that nourishes every one of your trillions of cells. The fact that your heart is beating, a steady, faithful drum of life, without any conscious command from you, is a miracle. The ability of your eyes to perceive the subtle play of light and shadow, the ability of your ears to translate vibrations in the air into the music of a loved one's voice. These are profound miracles happening right now. To be awake is simply to wake up to the miracle of your own ordinary life. It is to find the sacred in the mundane, the extraordinary in the everyday. It is to realize that your value does not lie in what you do, what you accomplish, or what you produce. Your ultimate value lies in your being. To simply be here, conscious and alive, is enough. To be a peaceful presence in the world is the greatest gift you can offer. You do not need to do anything to attain this. You only need to stop doing all the things that obscure it. You only need to stop running into the past and the future and allow yourself to settle, to land, to arrive right here on the beautiful shore of the present moment. As we become more and more established in this deep presence, as we learn to walk with peace upon the earth, our minds become extraordinarily quiet. The constant, noisy chatter of the inner critic and the worried planner begins to fade. The desperate shouting of the hungry ego becomes a mere whisper, and in this newfound inner silence, we begin to perceive something we have never noticed before. We start to hear the sound that was present all along, drowned out by the noise of our own minds. We begin to hear the sound of silence itself. We find ourselves standing on the shore of the present moment. We are learning to walk here, to feel the solid ground of reality beneath our feet. As we grow more accustomed to this place, as we settle into this state of being, a natural quietness begins to descend. The relentless traffic of the mind, the inner narrator that comments on and judges every experience, starts to thin out. The voice of the inner critic grows softer. The voice of the anxious planner grows tired. And in this growing stillness, in the spaces between our thoughts, we can begin to listen for something new. We can begin to listen for a sound that has been here all along, drowned out by the noise of our own thinking. We can begin to listen for the sound of silence itself. This is not the silence of a soundproof room, an absence of external noise. We have all experienced being in a quiet place, while our own mind was shouting. The silence we are speaking of is an inner silence, It is the deep, vast, and profoundly peaceful background of awareness against which all the sounds and thoughts of our life appear and then disappear. It is like the boundless blue sky, and our thoughts are merely clouds drifting through it. We usually pay all of our attention to the clouds, judging them, chasing them, fearing them, but we forget that the sky is always there, vast, serene, and untouched by the passing clouds. The silence is the sky. It is like the deep, still body of the ocean, far beneath the chaotic waves on the surface. The silence is the ocean's depth. It is like the clean to white canvas upon which the entire painting of our life's experience is rendered. The silence is the canvas. We can learn to hear it. We can practice tuning our ear to this subtle frequency. You can begin right now, just by listening. First, allow your awareness to open up to the sounds around you. Perhaps you can hear the faint hum of electricity, à distance car passing, the gentle sound of your own breathing. Don't label these sounds as good or bad. Don't tell stories about them. Just receive them as pure vibration. Asraf sensore data. Now, to begin to listen not just to the sounds, but to the spaces between the sounds, the brief pause after the car has passed, the tiny gap of quiet between your out-breath and your next in-breath. These gaps are the doorways into silence. And now, a deeper step. Can you become aware of the silence that is underneath and all around the sounds? The sounds are temporary visitors, arising out of a vast field of silence and dissolving back into it. The silence is not the absence of sound. It is the container for all sound. It is always here, even now. As you hear my voice is happening in a field of silence. You can become aware of both at the same time. The same is true for your thoughts. You can watch them arise, and you can watch them fall, and you can become very interested in the silent gap between the end of one thought and the beginning of the next. That space is pure awareness. That space is peace. There is a famous Zen koan, a riddle given by a master to a student, designed to shatter the conceptual mind. It speaks directly to this practice. A brilliant young disciple, having mastered all the difficult texts, went to his master, confident that he was ready for the final, ultimate teaching. The master said to him, "You are very clever." You can hear the sound of 2 hands clapping. The master then brought his palms together, making a sharp clap. "Now," the master said, looking deep into the student's eyes, "show me the sound of 1 hand clapping." The student was utterly stumped. He left the master's chambers and began a long, arduous quest. He thought it must be a real, physical sound, one he had simply never noticed before. He went out into the world to listen. He listened to the soft music played by the geishas. "Is this it?" he thought. He went to a dripping cave and listened to the plink-plonk of the water. Perhaps this is it. He listened to the gentle sighing of the wind in the pine trees. He listened to the cry of a night owl. He listened to the piercing buzz of a summer locust. Each time he thought he had discovered the answer, he would return to the master, full of excitement, and demonstrate the sound he had found. And each time, the master would simply shake his head and send him away. Years passed. The student grew older, wearier. He had exhausted every possible external sound in the world. All his cleverness, all his intellectual knowledge had proven useless. He fell into a state of despair. And in that despair, he finally surrendered. He gave up the search. He retreated to a small, quiet hut, and with no goal and no hope of finding an answer, he just sat. He sat for days, his mind growing quieter and quieter, until all his frantic searching had ceased. And then, in the depths of his silent meditation, no longer looking for anything, he suddenly became aware of it. It wasn't a sound he could produce. It was the vast, ever-present, soundless sound of awareness itself. It was the silence from which all the other sounds, the music, the water, the wind had arisen. It was the sound of being before it splits into a me who hears and a sound that is heard. He realized the sound of one hand was the sound of the source itself. He returned to the master. He walked into the room and bowed. The master asked, "Well, have you heard the sound of one hand?" The student did not speak. He did not make a gesture. He simply stood there, his entire being radiating a deep, profound, and luminous silence. The master smiled a great, broad smile and nodded his head. The student had finally come home. We are all that student. We spend our lives searching for happiness, peace, and fulfillment out there. We search for it in sounds, in experiences, in possessions, in achievements, in other people. We believe that if we just find the right combination of external things, we will finally be at peace. The story of the one hand clapping directs us to turn our search inward. It tells us that the peace we seek is not found in adding another sound, another experience. It is found in subtraction. It is found by becoming aware of the silence that is already here. Once we stop making so much mental noise, this inner silence is not a dead or empty void. It is vibrant and alive. It is the womb of all creation. It is pure consciousness, full of peace, intelligence, and potential. It is in this silent space that all true healing and restoration happens. When we can let go and allow our minds to rest in this inner silence, the body knows what to do. The nervous system collates. The cells repair themselves. The heart finds its balance. This is a level of rest far deeper than ordinary sleep, which is often filled with agitated dreams. To rest in this silent awareness is to marinate in the very source of our being. It is to come home to our own true nature, to discover a refuge that can never be disturbed by the storms of the world, a sanctuary that is always and eternally available within us. This brings us to the final understanding of our journey tonight, the practice of taking refuge, not in something external, but in the luminous, silent truth of our own being. We have journeyed inward, past the restless waves on the surface of the mind, and have touched the vast, silent ocean of awareness that lies beneath. To rest in this deep silence is to feel a profound sense of safety, of coming home. It is to find a sanctuary that cannot be shaken by the winds of the world. This feeling of sanctuary brings us to the culmination of our inner journey tonight, the ancient and beautiful practice of taking refuge. For many, the idea of taking refuge conjures up images of finding shelter from a storm, of hiding from the world. But in the spiritual life, taking refuge is not an act of escape. It is an act of deep remembrance and trust. It is not about finding a home outside of ourselves, but about finally recognizing and inhabiting the true home that has been waiting patiently within us all along. In the Buddhist tradition, one formally takes refuge in what are known as the three jewels, or the three treasures: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But we can understand these three treasures, not as external authorities to bow down to, but as living, breathing qualities within our own experience, the very pillars of our inner home. First, we take refuge in the Buddha. This does not mean we worship a historical figure or a golden statue. It means we take refuge in the potential for Buddhahood, for awakening that exists as a seed in every human heart. It is the Buddha nature that we spoke of earlier. It is your own innate capacity to be awake, to see things with luminous clarity, to be free from confusion. It is the wise, compassionate, and silent awareness that you discovered when you listened for the sound of one hand clapping. To take refuge in the Buddha is to trust this deep, knowing part of yourself. It is to stop looking outside for a savior and to begin listening to the wisdom of the enlightened master who already resides within you. Second, we take refuge in the Dharma. This does not mean we must blindly accept a set of ancient scriptures or doctrines. The Dharma, in its deepest sense, is the truth itself. It is the law of the universe, the way things are. It is the reality of impermanence, the flowing river we cannot step in twice. It is the reality of interconnectedness, the truth that the cloud and the tea and you are not separate. It is the law of cause and effect, the understanding that actions rooted in kindness bear the fruit of peace, while actions rooted in greed and hatred bear the fruit of suffering. To take refuge in the Dharma is to stop arguing with reality. It is to align ourselves with the truth, like a sailor aligning their sails with the wind. When we move in harmony with the way things are, our journey becomes graceful and filled with ease. Third, we take refuge in the Sangha. On the outer level, the Sangha is the community of fellow travelers on the path, the friends and teachers who support and inspire us. But on a deeper, inner level, to take refuge in the Sangha is to cultivate a community of harmony within our own being. It is to bring our body, our heart, and our mind into alignment so they are no longer at war with each other, but work together as a supportive and loving community. It is to feel our place in the great Sangha of all life, to recognize our kinship with the trees, the animals, the rivers, the sky. It is to know we are not alone, but are an integral part of a vast and beautiful whole. When you take refuge in your own capacity for awareness, align yourself with the truth of reality, and live in harmony with yourself and the world, you have found your true home. This home is not a building or a location. It is the present moment, illuminated by these three treasures. It is a refuge that is always available, always safe, always peaceful. However, it is essential to hold on to this refuge with wisdom and humility. The ego is clever, and it can try to co-opt even our most sincere practice for its own purposes. There is an old Jataka tale, a story from a past life of the Buddha, that serves as a powerful reminder of this. In a certain pond lived a turtle. He had a comfortable life, but he was restless. He had befriended two wild geese who would visit his pond on their migrations. The geese told the turtle marvelous stories about their home, a golden cave in the magnificent Himalayan mountains. The turtle was filled with an intense desire to go there, to experience this higher, more beautiful realm. Seeing his longing, the compassionate geese devised a plan. "We will take a sturdy stick," they said, "and each of us will hold one end in our beak. You must bite down firmly on the middle of the stick, and we will fly you to the mountains." The stick was the turtle's refuge. his dharma, the vehicle for his liberation. But the geese gave him one single, critical instruction: listen carefully. Friend turtle, they warned, during this entire journey, you must keep your mouth shut. Do not speak a single word. No matter what you see or hear, your life depends on you holding fast to the stick. The turtle agreed. He bit down firmly on the stick, and the two geese took flight. It was magnificent. The turtle soared through the sky, higher than he had ever dreamed. He saw the world spread out beneath him like a map. It was the most exhilarating experience of his life. As they were flying over a village, some children on the ground looked up and saw this extraordinary sight. They began to point and shout with laughter. Look at that. Two geese are carrying a turtle on a stick." The turtle heard their shouts from below, and in that moment, his ego, which had been quiet, began to swell with pride. They are only marveling at the geese, he thought to himself. But it was my clever idea that made this possible. I should get the credit. He was overcome with the urge to correct them, to announce his own importance. He completely forgot the geese's vital warning. He opened his mouth to shout down. Yes, and it was my brilliant plan. In the instant he opened his mouth, he lost his grip on the stick. He lost his hold on his refuge, and he plummeted from the sky, falling to his death in the village courtyard below. This story teaches us a vital lesson. The turtle's desire to go to the Himalayas was a wholesome desire, a form of chanda. The stick was his practice, his dharma, but his ego, his need for recognition, his desire to boast, this was the fatal flaw. To open his mouth was to let go of his refuge in favor of his pride. To take refuge is a quiet, humble, and internal practice. It is about holding fast to our own awareness, our own integrity, our own connection to the truth, without any need to advertise it or seek validation from the world. Our peace is found in the silent, steady holding of the practice itself. This quiet, humble reliance on our inner home, this silent holding fast to our refuge, is the perfect preparation for the final act of letting go that we are invited to perform each night. For what is falling asleep, if not an act of ultimate trust? It is a surrender of the conscious, controlling mind. It is a letting go of our plans, our identity, our very bodies, and allowing ourselves to fall into the great, mysterious ocean of rest. To fall asleep is to take refuge in the wisdom of the body and the deep, silent mystery of life itself. We have journeyed far together tonight. We have walked the shores of the present moment, learned to be like the bamboo in the wind, and discovered the unshakable refuge of our own silent awareness. We have seen that the path to peace is not about adding anything new, but about letting go of the burdens we have carried for so long. We have practiced letting go of the past, letting go of the future, letting go of our anger, and letting go of our need for perfection. Now, we arrive at the final practice of the day, the one that nature itself invites us to perform each and every night. It is the ultimate and most profound act of letting go. It is the act of falling asleep. For many of us, sleep can feel like a battle. We try to conquer it, to force it to come. We worry about not getting enough of it. It becomes another goal to be achieved, another task at which we can fail. But the wisdom of the path shows us another way. Sleep is not an achievement. It is a surrender. It is not something we do, but something we allow to happen. It is a total and complete release of control, a deep bow to the wisdom of the body and the great mystery of life. Each night, as we lie on the threshold of sleep, we are practicing for the great letting go. We are rehearsing the art of release in the safest and most gentle way imaginable. What is it that we let go of first? We let go of the body all day long. We command it, move it, hold it in postures of tension and alertness. But now, you can release it. You can give the body back to the earth. Feel its weight, heavy and relaxed. Let go of the need to hold your head up, to keep your shoulders straight, to clench your jaw. You can surrender every muscle, every fiber, every cell. You can trust that the earth is holding you completely. You do not need to do anything. Next, we let go of the mind. We release our grip on the thoughts, the plans, the memories, the stories. The monkey mind has been swinging and chattering all day. Now, you can allow it to grow quiet. You can let the stream of thoughts flow on by without needing to jump into it. You let go of the house of the future you were building, and you let go of the heavy boulders from the past. You are releasing the entire world of concepts and ideas. And in letting go of the mind, we perform the most profound release of all. We let go of me. We let go of our name, our history, our identity, our personality, the entire complex structure of the ego. The self that we have spent all day defending, promoting, and worrying about is allowed to dissolve for a few precious hours. You are not a mother, a father, a worker, a success, or a failure. You are simply a breathing, resting being. This nightly dissolution of the self is a powerful teaching in non-attachment. It is a gentle rehearsal that shows us we are so much more than the small, constricted identity we cling to so tightly. It teaches us not to fear impermanence, because we practice it every night and awaken refreshed every morning. To fall asleep is the ultimate act of trust. Imagine a single, golden leaf in late autumn, clinging to the branch of a great maple tree. A younger leaf nearby trembles in the crisp wind. "I am afraid," whispers the young leaf. "The wind is so strong today. Everyone is leaving. Look, so many of us have already fallen. I don't want to let go. What will happen to us when we fall?" The old, golden leaf, which has danced in the sun all summer long, looks at the little leaf with deep, calm wisdom. "Do not be afraid." It says in a rustling voice, "Listen to my story. In the spring, I was just a tiny, tightly wound bud. I did not know what I would become, but I trusted the branch, and I allowed myself to unfurl. That was my first act of letting go. Then, all summer long, I lived. Oh, how I lived. I drank the light of the sun and the water of the rain. I learned that I was not separate, that the sun and the rain were my very life. I danced in the gentle breezes, and I held strong in the summer storms. I provided shade for a nest of robins, who sang their songs to me each morning. I participated fully in the life of this great tree, which was our home and our community. I did not hold back. I was fully green. I was fully alive. Now, the old leaf continued, its voice growing softer. My color has changed. I am no longer green. but gold and crimson. This is not a failure. It is not a sickness. It is a fulfillment. It is a sign that my work is done. My chlorophyll has been given back to the tree, to store as energy for the spring. My purpose has been served. To let go now is not a death. It is a homecoming. It is the final, most graceful dance of all. The young leaf was still uncertain. But where will we go? What will we become? The wise leaf rustled with a sound like a soft laugh. We will become something new. We will fall to the soft earth below. We will rest. We will slowly dissolve and become part of the rich, dark soil. We will become food for the very roots that sustained us all summer long. Our life will nourish the tree. And in the spring, when new buds appear, we will be there. We will be in them. We will not be gone. We will only have changed our form. The letting go is the beginning of a new life. And as the next gentle gust of wind came through the grove, the old, golden leaf did not cling. It released its hold without any resistance, and floated, spun, and danced its way down, 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 to rest peacefully on the quiet forest floor. As you lie here now, you are that leaf. Your day is done. You have lived. You have worked. You have loved. You have danced in the sun and weathered the storms. Now is the time for the graceful release. It is not an end. It is a homecoming. You are letting go of your grip on the waking world so that you can fall into the deep, dark, nourishing soil of sleep. Here, in this restorative darkness, your body and mind will be renewed. Here, you will give your energy back to the source so that you may be reborn, fresh and new. In the morning light, trust this process. Your body knows how to let go. Just as the leaf knows how to fall, you do not need to do anything. Simply allow it. Surrender to the gentle pull of rest. And as you drift on this final, peaceful current, let your last conscious act be one of kindness. Let your heart softly radiate a wish for all beings everywhere. May you be peaceful. May your sleep be deep and restorative. May you be free from fear. And may all beings in all worlds find rest. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at peace. Let go now. Release. Surrender. Trust. Rest. And so, our journey together tonight comes to a gentle close. We have walked a long and winding path, not through a forest of trees, but through the inner landscape of the heart and mind. We began with the restless monkey mind and learned to let the muddy waters of our thoughts settle, revealing the clarity that lies beneath. We saw the pain of the second arrow and understood that our true freedom lies not in avoiding life's challenges, but in choosing not to wound ourselves with our own reactions. We have felt the great, flowing river of impermanence, and in that constant change, we found a strange and beautiful peace. We learned from the empty boat that our anger often has no true target, and from the two monks that the heaviest burdens are the ones we choose to carry in our minds. We saw the folly of living in a house that has not yet been built, and found our most reliable anchor in the simple, faithful rhythm of the breath. From that place of stillness, we learned to be an unconditional friend to ourselves, and allowed that kindness to overflow to all beings. We have discovered that the deepest wisdom is not a dogma to be clung to, but a raft to be used and then released. All of these stories, all of these ideas, have been whispers in the dark, gentle reminders of a truth you have known all along. The peace you have been seeking was never in a distant land, or a future time, or a different set of circumstances. It was never outside of you. It has always been here, waiting patiently beneath the noise, like the deep, silent earth beneath a blanket of snow. These stories are not the treasure itself. They are simply the keys that unlock a door to a room that has always been yours. The treasure is the room itself. The treasure is the quiet, luminous, peaceful awareness that is your own true nature. You have done enough for today. There is nothing more to figure out, nothing more to solve. The seeds of these stories have been planted in the deep, fertile ground of your being. Trust that they will grow in their own time, in their own way, nourished by the quiet darkness of your rest. As you drift now, let go of everything. Let go of my voice. Let go of the stories. Let go of the effort to be peaceful. Simply surrender to the great, gentle tide of sleep. It is safe to rest. It is safe to let go. May your sleep be deep, dreamless, and profoundly healing. May you awaken in the morning feeling clear, refreshed, and at peace. You are home. Rest now. Rest deeply. Peace. Peace. Peace.